order. TCA code 521-111 says the budget will be publicized and presented. It has been publicized. The hearing has been publicized. It also says that such publication shall also contain the notice of public hearing to be conducted by the Budget Committee, at which any citizen of the county, upon 5 days' notice, written request, shall be given the right to appear and speak on the budget. I have not received any requests to date from anyone that would like to speak to the budget, but obviously you're here for a reason.
Right.
So beyond the TCA code, I will allow you to come and speak. Here are a couple of rules. You will have 4 minutes after you give your name and your address, and Dr. Acuff will be my timekeeper, please. You will have 4 minutes to address your issues. I'm sure that the commissioners, all the commissioners are the same as me. I've received letters and I've received phone calls, so we know a lot of your concerns. If you're speaking on an issue, say, let's say, for example, the senior center, and 2 people have spoke, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand, and let's limit that so we can let everybody have a chance to speak. We know if there's 10 people out there that want to speak on the senior center, we're probably going to hear pretty much the same thing. But we will take knowledge of how many people are here to speak on that particular area. This time, if you would like to speak on the budget, if you would raise your hand. Yes, ma'am. You'll come forward and give your name and your address.
Thank you. A woman only gets 4 minutes? Come on. Okay, my name is Susan Howell, and I live at 106 Ridgecrest Drive, Johnson City, Tennessee. I am a Carter County resident by choice. I'm an Illini by birth. I could not help that. When I graduated from high school, I'm here. And I love this county. I also pay city taxes on 2 acres of property that was annexed by the city when they did strip annexing, and they got my 2 acres. So I pay county taxes on 2 homes, city taxes on a piece of land, and county taxes also. So I am a taxpayer. I want to remind you commissioners that each of you was elected by people like me, who you've probably never seen before, unless you see me walking my boxer. Yes, that was me. Okay. This is a great nation we live in America. And I am so thankful to my God and Savior that I was born in this nation where I can enjoy freedom and where you will listen to my voice. I want to remind each one of you that you were elected to represent people like me. Even though you don't know me, you were elected to represent me. And I want to thank you for listening to my voice. Now that said, and I'm sure I'm going to be flogged by some of my fellow citizens, I believe that you should raise county taxes. I was raised in a generation where we didn't get something for nothing. And I believe in hard work, and my husband and I have worked hard for many years to have what we have. We are neither rich nor poor, but we are blessed to be in this nation. It is not right for me, as a Carter County citizen, to use the Elizabethan bathrooms in downtown, the Elizabethan parks, and not pay a dime to them. That is wrong. For me to get something for nothing, someone else got nothing for something. And that is neither right nor American. I am a responsible American. I pay my way. I believe that you should raise taxes. This commission has said they cannot operate with the current services on the money they have. So let's all pay our part so that this county can continue to be the great county that it is. I want to thank you very much for hearing my voice. I hope you will not only hear my voice, but you will listen to my voice. I am privileged to live in this county. I love Carter County and Tennessee. And thank you for hearing my voice. And I hope that you will raise the taxes so that we can continue to enjoy the services that we have had. More than 5 minutes?
I don't know, we need to ring the bell.
We're good at
You accomplished more than you thought you were going to. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to, yes, ma'am? You come forward, state your name and your address, and you have 4 minutes from the time you state your name and address.
My name is Mary Lee Williams. I live at 279 Price Road. I've paid county taxes for almost 50 years at the same residence. And I can't see that I'm getting squat for it. We have, there's a ditch line that runs by our house that the county put a culvert in. Every time that it rains hard, it ends up flooding in our house. I've been before the commission time and again. It does absolutely no good. Everybody's been up there and looked at that. I'll agree it's a big problem. And I've even been told that the subdivision or the houses across from me should never have been put in. So I said, then why did Policy approve? I didn't get an answer to that. I don't feel like my taxes should be raised because I don't feel like I'm getting anything for it now. I think it's a disgrace, and anybody that was in my place would think it's a disgrace.
Anyone else would like to speak to the vote? Yes, sir.
I'm Mark Blevins out of the 1st District, 106 Emily Drive, Elizabeth. I've been out for the last 6 months hard, working, talking to people in the county, the 1st District, which I run for the commissioner I'm elected. And the input that I'm getting from the people in the 1st District, and not only the people in the 1st District, but countywide. You know, we've got people on fixed income, and it seems like every time we turn around, they're raising taxes on us. They want to raise taxes. I'm against, I realize that we've got to have taxes to run the county. Don't get me wrong, I know we do. But I think it's time to step back and start cutting some budgets to where you don't put the burden on the taxpayers. And in Carter County, I think, you know, this, every time you meet, every year, it seems like it's a routine thing. And, you know, I think it's just time that we try to, you know, work together as a whole. You know, just don't do well because this budget or that budget. We need to get together and work this thing out. But I think it's time that we quit putting everything on the citizens of Carter County and start cutting some budgets. And these places where it can be cut, and it needs to be done. And still said, well, you know, people in the county, I've been privileged. Worked hard and everything, but these people that you talk to at gross $500–600 a month, it don't seem like much, 9 cents. Don't seem like a lot of money. But when you add that up a month, and it's whether, you know, they buy the medicine or they buy something that they need, and where we've got people in these offices, Carter County, sitting back, and, you know, I've lived most of my life on $30,000 or under and raised my family. My daddy raised 6 of us on a whole lot less than that. And I think it's time we start cutting some budgets and stuff in the county. And for me personally, and I'm not bragging for this, I think if you could start with your county commissioner, when I run, I said I wouldn't take 1 penny. I my district, I'm not representing Mark, I'm representing what they want. And that's what I'm gonna listen to. So I oppose the tax rate tonight, and I look forward to working with everyone in the future.
Thank you. Take your name and your address, you have 4 minutes.
My name is Christy Carr, and my address is 124 Mountain Heights Lane, Elizabethton, Tennessee. I want to talk to you about something that is a bit different. It not only affects me and everyone else in this room, but it's at a broader picture. And that is today, as of this morning, I requested last week that I get a copy of the county budget, and I received that this morning. And I went through that budget. The first thing that, before we got to the county budget, there were people that reached out to me to say the Senior Citizen Center is at risk. The public library is at risk. Wow. It's a nominal amount of money that those outside agencies have requested, and the proposed budget for those agencies is zero. And they provide incredible resources to our community. So beyond that, I'm looking at the county budget today, the general fund that was sent to me. And here is, in the first scan and then a second scan, what I found. That over 50% of the budget of Carter County, and let me, before I go there, let me explain to you that I grew up in Elizabethton, Tennessee, a gorgeous, wholesome place. I was gone my whole adult life. I came back a couple of years ago. And such a different place than what I knew growing up. We are spending what the budget this year that is being proposed by the county is over 50% going towards the county jail and the sheriff's department. And that does not include any ancillary services that will relate to both of those departments. Are you kidding? That's what we want our community to be. I mean, what is sad is that you drive into this beautiful little town and you see this monstrosity of a jail in the middle of the historic district. But then on top of that, we have a budget that is made up of over 50% going towards a county jail and the sheriff's department. The county has decided that they're giving $60,000, which is more than had been given, to the public library. My understanding is that there are commissioners that believe we don't need a public library. We have a senior citizen center that asks for a mere $15,000, and they're getting a proposed zero number of dollars. Red Cross getting $0. Wow.
That's 4 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Don't think I need to say any more.
Yes, sir.
I live at 609 Ontario Drive in Elizabeth. And I want to tell you, I have 7 pieces of property inside the city that I pay county taxes for. I get very little help, if any, from the county. And to just keep looking at the factor of raising taxes. I'm just like this other lady. I think we need to cut some of these budgets for the sheriff's department and in other places. The poor people who live out, some of them in the county, cannot afford to keep raising taxes every year. It's just crazy. So I'm here to ask you to not increase taxes. I don't think we need that as a county or in the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak to the budget? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Jim McGee. I live in the 3rd District. I live at 127 Ridgecrest Drive. I've been up here several times this past year, and I have spoken personally with some of the people that are elected officials, and I get nowhere. I get told, well, you need to get a lawyer and sue the county. Well, sure. And I have an attorney that I consult with on a weekly basis about other things. I had 3 parents that my wife and I had to take care of. And my problem that I brought before this whole commission, as well as the highway department, was based around the time of night that we would have to leave and where we would need to park our vehicles quickly and get to Johnson City. Now, I've been here since 1968. I've got an old cemetery beside of me that goes back to the 1800s. Actually, it's like there's a house between me and it. And the roadway to it, I have asked about what can be done to open it up. And I've been told it's a private cemetery. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And Charlie Von Cannon sitting right back there can tell you, it is not a private cemetery.
It is not a private cemetery.
And there is no way, and people used to come and park where I'm talking about and where I've asked the county road superintendent to help me out. And Mr. Hill, you've been there, you know all about it. Now, if I'm going to pay more taxes, I feel like I should expect something for those taxes. I'm not even getting service for what I'm paying. So why should they be raised? And there are others here that may not speak, but they feel the same way. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Anyone else would like to speak to the budget? Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Kathy Doolin. My address is 631 Woodland Drive, and I'm the director of Elizabethton Senior Center. I think you were expecting me from the opening remarks that we were mentioned, but we serve residents of Elizabethton and Carter County that are 60 and older. Last year we served 542 of these residents, and the majority of our members are 79 and older. We provide a lot of services at our center. Right now I have 75 people up there tonight having a program on elder abuse awareness. We provide breakfast, lunch, transportation, education on many topics and issues. We plan programs that help make participants aware of scams, how to get help for elder abuse and their personal safety. We also have physical fitness programs. We provide classes in yoga, Zumba, aerobics, dancing, and we have a fully equipped fitness room. We also have a very big volunteer opportunity going on at our center. We provide, a lot of our programs are helped with volunteers. We only have 2 full-time staff members, and so we do count on volunteers heavily when we do fundraising and things. So malnutrition, transportation, depression, these are all problems faced with aging every day. Studies show that seniors that attend the senior center regularly are more healthy, suffer less from depression, and are less likely to fall victim of scams or abuse. Currently, financial abuse is one of the biggest problems the elderly are facing today. Their own children are taking their life savings. So we're teaching classes on how to protect themselves and what to do about that. We're very concerned that we are losing funding from Carter County. We asked for $23,000, but last year we received $14,584. That really doesn't sound like a significant amount, but to us it is. To lose that much right now would be devastating. We received funding from the city, the county, United Way, Area Agency on Aging, and then we had to fundraise the rest of our budget, or we take it from membership dues and donations. So I'm asking you to please reconsider and try to give us the funding we asked for. We have a terrible time raising money. We don't have a lot of workforce to rely on, so we make apple butter, we have breakfast, we do things like that. And we still raise about 20% of our budget. So I'm asking you to please reconsider and think of the senior center and put us back in the budget if you would. Do you have any questions about the services we provide or what we do at the senior center? No? Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Anyone else who would like to address the budget?
Could I come back?
Well, I need to let everyone else speak first, please, Christie.
I like this. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Right ahead. Big word.
Good evening, Commissioners, committee members. I'm Daniel Estes. Address 136 South Sycamore Street. That rings a bell at City Hall. I'm the new city manager for the city of Elizabeth, and I've met a number of you. And those who I haven't met, I'd like to say hello. So you can put a face with the name Daniel Estes. That's me. Please come by and see me anytime. I'd be happy to talk to you. Last Thursday night, City Council met and directed me to draft a letter, which I have a copy of here, and I'm going to hand out when I get down to the end of my comments. But I'll give you the substance of what Council wanted to pass your way. Here on behalf of the Council again to express their concerns about the proposed elimination of the county's contribution to the Elizabethton Parks and Recreation budget. As you know, Elizabethton Parks and Recreation provides great opportunities to the greater Carter County community, not just city residents, and Carter County has been a partner with the city in doing this. Unfortunately, the cuts in funding proposed in the fiscal year 2018-19 budget threaten that partnership, and Council is considering alternatives and how they can move forward with Parks and Rec for the future. One option being evaluated is potentially requiring user fees for county residents who do not also live in the city. I think that's ultimately a last resort that the City Council wishes to consider. It's not a first choice. So I'll keep it brief and say on behalf of the Council, I'd like to respectfully request that the County Commission reconsider their cuts to the budget and include in the fiscal 18-19 budget the $11,281.25 that went to Parks and Recreation funding. Thank you. If you don't mind, can I pass out the letter that I drafted? Thank you.
Hey, can I say something before we get down?
Sure.
Now, I think the county ought to fund Parks and Rec, but when I came down to use one of these facilities, or over here or something, they go bathroom open. And I have asked this before, what do you people expect the senior citizens to go pee at? A bucket for going out to pick. See, you talking about services, you really don't offer services from the county, no bathrooms. Now, why is that?
I can answer it.
Yeah, I'm a somebody would.
Mike Mays, Parks and Rec Director.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. Thanks so much. I'll be happy to answer it. I think I answered this question about 2 years ago. And at that time, you know, our bathroom schedules, we open them up at a certain time of year and we have to close them. Sometimes we have to winterize them. And so it's really almost, you get into spring when we open them back up because the block walls and where everyone's, to go look at the facilities actually over at the city park where he's speaking about. So the block walls are in there and sometimes we have trouble with frozen pipes. I don't know what time you went, but we try to go over there and I don't know if you've been over there lately over the last 2 years, but they're left open through the week. And so, you know, I'm sorry that you may have went one time and it was locked. I don't really know what time of year that was, but we certainly try to do our best to serve the county residents in everything. Okay, I have personally seen in the 20 years I've been here an increase in county residents using our park facilities. And we are happy to provide those. They're getting better and better. Unfortunately, our city council has bought into the fact that recreation is extremely important for our residents to build a quality of life like none other. And that's what we want. So we want to take care of everybody, no matter what ages they are, and we'll continue to do so. We just hope that you'll consider tonight, reconsider that $11,000 that is allocated to us. Our overall budget's $1.5 million, right around that. And as your County Park and Recreation Board recently did a survey, 63% of those using our facilities are non-city residents. So thank you for the question. Yes, sir.
What time do they open up and what time do they close back?
Okay, they open it depending on what's going on over there because we have basically youth baseball season. Okay, then we have times when the school is still in session, which a lot of schools from outside the area, Hunter, Happy Valley Elementary School, will use that facility. So we'll open them up in the morning, right around 8 o'clock. They'll be washed and ready to go. And then later on in the evening, if we have baseball going on or softball, we'll leave them open until 9:30 or 10, whenever the league games are over with. Now, non-season games, okay, we'll continue. The park closes around 9 p.m. So a lot of times those facilities are left open during that period of time as well. So I'll be happy to share with you the schedule, and maybe we can get together and maybe even go to lunch and we'll discuss about the rest of the facilities we've got and we'll take care of it.
If I come down now before they got ball season.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. This is supposed to be
She's the chair.
Madam
Mr.
Chairman.
Lewis, I really would like to have the public
We're
speak.
addressing the
If you want to
budget.
speak with Mr. Maines after the public hearing, that
Well,
would be great.
that was great. I asked him a question.
He's
And I
answered your
expect
question.
answers.
He answered your question.
No, he didn't even like it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks so much. Please, we hope you will reconsider, okay? Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak to the budget? Yes, ma'am. Oh, you've already spoken, I need to make sure everyone speaks. Anyone else? Mayor, I'm going to allow you to speak 4 minutes, but
I'm a
this is
citizen
public.
just like everybody else,
I knew
ma'am. I'm
that's what
sorry.
you were going to say, yes. 4 minutes, please.
Thank you. Appreciate you reminding me of that. Folks, I've been here now long enough to know what goes on in the budget process. And through 10, 14 fiscal years, I saw the budget committee at one point in time make a drastic cut to the EMS service. And it was done just to send a message to the people at the EMS group. They cut it drastically. I mean, it was just over $100,000, which you folks realize that was a mistake. Well, today, you're doing something not for the same intention. With this proposed budget, you're cutting some much-needed services in this county. We have to invest in this county. We have to take care of the people that we represent. And just to think about cutting senior citizens center with all that they do, One of the things that they do that I'm very well aware of is Meals on Wheels. Every day, they ensure that there are people that are on that list get a nutritious meal so that they can make it. They may not have anyone else. So I mean, it's critical to cut Senior Citizens Center in their funding is not acceptable. To cut the youth, to cut our Boys and Girls Club. Is that investing in our community? How can we expect to ever grow this county and to make it something that we can all be proud of if we're continually restricting back and cutting out the people that are in need? So, cuts need to be made, absolutely. I'm in agreement with cuts, but not in these important programs within our community. The mayor, as you've heard him say on a number of times, has made drastic cuts to his budget. I did in 2011 to the tune of almost $70,000. That's $750,000 over my time here that could have been spent, but wasn't because I pulled it off the table. Budget committee this year asked all the office holders to do yet another cut, 10% of the non-payroll portion of the budget. Even though I'm operating on a 2011 budget, I made those cuts. So if the mayor can make those cuts, which equates to about $55,000, then the other office holders can do something similar. I mean, we've got to look within our means, we've got to live within our means, and we've got to make those cuts first. We've got to cut to the bone, folks, before we start advocating taking the programs away that are needed to make this a better county. So I would encourage you tonight and going forward before the July meeting that you reevaluate this budget, install these requests at least to the bare minimum, because otherwise you're going to put some amount of business. I can't see how the Senior Citizen Center is going to operate without that small amount of funding. In the scope of things, when you're looking at a $16 million+ budget, that few $1,000s is not a lot, either for the Boys and Girls Club and the other things here. So I would very passionately request that you install those amounts back in the budget and look for cuts elsewhere within the government itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Christy, I'm sorry, this lady needs to speak. I'm Juanita McKinney, and I live on Reynolds Road. I have been a city resident, and I have been a county resident. First of all, we none like to raise and have to pay out more than we should. We all know how to eat soup beans. We all know how to eat cornbread. We know how to eat steak, too. Sometimes you gotta eat steak when there's lean years. I know you guys have looked at your budget. I think there's some things floating around here rumor-wise and some things we've heard that none of us like. That's your job to find out where it's at and make everybody eat pinto beans and cornbread for a while. Now, as to the citizens, I'd like to tell you that I don't want to pay more taxes. As you can see, I'm disabled. That's okay. I still work. I still bust my butt. I put up a fence. I take care of horses. But on the other hand, have you been to any of the budget meetings? Have you been to any of the committee meetings and listened to some of the committees, where they're cutting? The way that some of the committees have actually saving us money? Now, I haven't been to all of them. I'm sure there's some that I wouldn't be happy with. But I think we need to put our faith in these people, and these people need to dig a little deeper into some of the areas that we have questions about, some of the areas that are out there. Yes, I have a college degree. My college degree isn't the paper it's worth on if I don't have any common sense. A housewife can budget a checkbook. A lot of people sometimes seem to think in volunteer credit counseling, I've got checks, I got money. Well, that ain't how it works. We all know that. Doesn't take a college degree to figure that out. You know how much money you got in the bank, you know what your bills are, you pay them. If you've got extras, heck, if I were, I'd like to go eat sirloin steak every night, but sometimes you have to eat cereal, grilled cheese and tomato. You eat what you have. That's what the budget needs to do. That's what this committee's trying to do, and I hope there are a few of them that they look a little harder at. I hope the heads of the different departments look and see what they need versus what their wants are, and I hope that we all take that in consideration
and do it in a very mature, grown-up manner without mudslinging. Thank you so much. Thank you.
People. Anyone else that would like to speak to the budget? Gentleman in the back.
My name is Steve Stevenson. I live at 7519 Highway 19E in Lone Mountain. Full disclosure, I'm currently running for sheriff here in the county. And I just been kind of studying some of the budgets, and I've talked to people all over this county. And it's my personal belief that the sheriff's office is currently wasting a lot of money. Currently, our sheriff has purchased an armored personnel carrier. I think he bought it for about $500, and last time I heard he's got about $30,000 into upgrades on it. He's currently paying about $1,300 a month just to store this vehicle. In addition to that, I'm sure all you guys are familiar with these drones. There's probably not anybody in the sheriff's office that can give you 3 calls that any of these drones have ever been on. This program alone costs tens of thousands of dollars. But basically what I'm here to tell you, I'm here to talk to the commission. When the sheriff started 4 years ago running for office, numerous citizens have told me that he was going to cut the budget by 20% when he ran. Since then, he has continually asked for increases to the budget. So my commitment is to you and to you folks is to do everything I can within my power to keep this budget the way it is, keep it as current as possible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we cut it by 20%. What I will tell you is that when we're in these lean years like this, that I will look at the budget and I will identify areas that I think can be cut as opposed to areas that I will raise. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Anyone else that would like to speak to the budget?
Yes. Back here.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam. My name is Jackie Peters. I live at 120 Eastland Drive. I think that's in Carter County. I've only been here 5 years. I left when I was right out of school, went to Newport News, Virginia, and worked there in a shipyard for 41 years. But I'm back. Some people call me a come here. But I do have a couple of concerns. Any of you that works for a large company knows what the retirement is. Social Security, it helps, but my retirement from either Northrop Grumman or Newport News Shipbuilding is not all that great. But we live, we make it. But it's getting harder and harder with personal property taxes and other expenses that are norms. No disrespect to the people that talked about the sheriff's department. And I'm a firm believer in our law enforcement people. They need more money. And I support them 100%. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak to the budget? Well, she's already spoken, so we need to allow other people to speak first. And then I'll go back to those people. Mr. Livingston.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think that
Mr. Livingston, state your name and your address. We all know you, but maybe not
Roy
everybody
Livingston,
does. Thank you.
Mountain, 6th District. I think everybody's concerned about this budget, it appears to be. And I know all you taxpayers out here are. Now, here's where we got a problem, what it appears to be. And I'm gonna ask a couple people here. I'm gonna ask the budget chairman first.
Mr. Livingston, this is public comments. If you would just state your comments and
It's supposed to be a hearing.
it's a public comments is what it is.
Okay, we'll make it. All right, she's the boss. She's the I told her.
Gee, thanks.
Okay? Now, you can't ask none of them, the commissioners, and I've asked a bunch of them, what the figure is, money-wise, that they're working from on this budget. Not one of them has told us to the penny. If they really want to tell us, write it down. You, finance director, chairman, and her, she's the budget chairman, they should be able to tell us. And the chairman of your commission should be able to tell us exactly what penny they're working from. They don't have a worksheet, they don't have anything, they can tell you. It's firm figures. Now you tell me, that all you people out here, how you would make a budget in your home if you didn't have a figure to start from. You gotta have something on your checkbook or something, knowing how much money you got before that you start working with it. They cannot tell you. Okay, here's where we're at. They say they're bringing in 83.134 per penny. That's how they count their money and how much you're gonna have. All right, I've got paperwork right in here that says it's nearly 86. That gives you a little over $200 per penny. I mean, 200,000 per penny. They've got you for 9 pennies. 9 times 200,000, see what you get. $1.8 million. And we started out, they said we're in a whole $500,000. Now, they tell us, and let's see if I'm correct, we're in $1.5 million, is that correct? We're in a whole $1.5 million.
With where to begin with.
Where?
When the budget process first started,
Okay?
we were taking 16 cents to fund the budget.
Take 16 cents to fund it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who knows what figure they're using? How did they arrive that they're in a hole this much? We have no figures, we have nothing. Now, you ladies and gentlemen out here as taxpayers, and we followed this real close, somebody needs to come in here and count this money, every penny we've got, the taxpayers, and see where we're going to start from to fix this budget. Now, how in the world could you just pick a number and you can ask them the number and ain't none of them knows it that I've talked to? I've talked to 3 or 4 commissioners and they can't tell you a firm number. If they can, let them hit the floor right now and tell us. And I bet you there ain't one in here could tell you a firm number of what monies we got. Now, until you find that out, there ain't nothing gonna happen here, and they keep hollering wheel tax, keep hollering this, we need revenue, we need revenue. There's enough money here to run 2 counties. You just got to go ahead and count it. But this year, they pull this on us every year now, they say they're gonna have to raise it next year. 9, 10 cents or whatever. They plan a year ahead of time. Where is all this money going? Now, you ladies and gentlemen, it's your money as well. It's all of us that pays taxes. Now, somebody needs to get together here and get somebody to come in here and count every penny of money we've got.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston.
So here's one of your problems. She thinks she's the Ayatollah. You're going to live what she wants you to live because she's not going to tell you a thing. And that's your number 1 problem right there.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston.
You're welcome.
Anyone else that would like to address the budget that has not spoken? Anyone else? Excuse me? Anyone else? She's spoken. I want to call in just a second. Before I let you return, I do need to give some information, if I may. We started out the process needing 16 cents to balance the budget. We have managed to get it down to 9 cents. My committee has worked since April. I think they've worked very hard. Right now, the appropriations for 18-19 is $16,126.49. Excuse me, $16,126,459. That is an increase of $361,456 over this past year. We have to start with a balanced budget. The commission passed that 2 months ago with 9 cents that will bring us into a balanced budget, taking no money from our fund balance. We have made cuts to outside agencies. We have made cuts to offices and departments. I will tell you that 2 months ago, I believe it might have been last month, we sent a resolution to the state requesting that the Carter County money that has been sent to the state over the years from estate sales come back to Carter County. If that money does come in, you can't spend it before we get it. If that money comes in and we think that we will get some portion of it, we plan to contact the outside agencies and ask them to come back and reapply for funds from this amount of money. So we have in our mind to do something for some of the outside agencies. Unfortunately, we did start the whole process, $439,000 in the hole. So that would take 5 cents just to fill that hole. So I want you to have that information about the grant funding for outside agencies. I will give you 3 minutes, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna start talking before I get up there, so I'll get 3 minutes. Susan Howell, 106 Ridgecrest Drive, I pay city and county taxes. The last time I checked my geography, the city of Elizabethton is in Carter County. And it is not right for me as a county resident who also pays some city tax to enjoy the public library. I could go to the Senior Citizen Center, I can walk my dog in the park, I can go to the covered bridge, I can drink the water from the water fountain, I can use the city bathrooms, I can play tennis on the city courts and me not pay a dime. It's not right. And if it takes raising 10 cents to be able to fund the public library, senior citizens, parks and recreation, and the sheriff's department, those men work hard for the tiny salaries that they receive. Now, I too am a senior citizen, and I get a little tiny Social Security check. And I can remember when I made $1.15 an hour, and it was enough. But you know what? It's not anymore. The cost of living goes up every day. Even on our Social Security checks, we get a little tiny increase when the government allows us to have that. So I know what it's like to pinch pennies, okay? But I would love to see the city of Elizabethton and Carter County work together to make our community a fine place where we love and care for one another and not bite and devour one another. It's pitiful that the city is against the county or the county against the city. We need to fund what we use. We are not freeloaders. I am not a freeloader, and if I use the city facilities, I expect to pay for them without having to pay a $3 fee because I want to use a ballpark. We need to work together. We are the citizens of Carter County, and some of us pay the city tax, but we must fund these things. And I'm all for the Sheriff's Department. I've got nothing but good things to say about the Sheriff's Department who came to take care of our home when we had an intruder that turned out to be a bat. But you know what? That Sheriff's Department deputy was there. And when I wrote him a thank you note, this man could only print, and his spelling was very poor. Now we need to pay these men something because they put their job, their life on the line every day for you and for me. So, okay, I'm a little bit worked up right now, but we need to work together with the city of Elizabethton. I'm proud to be part of this community, and I hope that you will,
Go ahead, get her another minute.
Okay.
will work together with the city of Elizabethton to provide things for all of us to enjoy. What about our children that go to the library? Hey, when I was a little girl, I used to go to the library. I love the library in Waukegan, Illinois. And I know worked long and hard so that we can retire. And he still, at almost age 70, works part-time. And we're the ones that are paying the taxes. And I say we need to support that we use. And as a county resident, I do not want to be a freeloader to the city of Elizabethton. I love the city of Elizabethton, and I love Carter County. I ask that every one of you spend every penny of this budget fund like you yourself worked it out. Like it's your money, because it's my money, and it's his money, and it's her money, and it's his money. So spend it like you worked it out, and spend it wisely. You were elected for such a time as this. You were elected to represent us, and please do not deprive senior citizens, parks and recreation, or the library, even if you have to raise it 10 cents.
Thank you. Clark, you have 4 minutes.
I ditto what she said. The city of Elizabethton is carrying the weight in so many regards for the county. That's what I've come to understand. But I want to go back to what I said earlier about looking at the budget for this year, and over 50% of what's allocated in the county budget going to the county jail and the sheriff's department, and not including ancillary services for things that would match up with those two departments. I would ask you to consider this, that education, school completion, investments in drug treatment, intervention with at-risk families, more cost-effective and more productive than incarceration. It's proven. Increases in wages for non-college educated men results in less crime. Why are we spending that much money for a county jail? And I mean, it's like that's what's supporting our community. That's crazy. And we're not giving to our library. We're cutting off the Senior Citizen Center. Well, I just can't fathom that. There are solutions that are better. So I'm asking you to consider a reproportion of this year's budget. Think about that. Educating people, giving them the help that they need. You really think that incarceration is doing these people any good that has a drug addiction or alcohol addiction or whatever the case might be? No. Nope, not really. So I'm asking you to consider that and a reproportion of this year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. To address the budget, come forward.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Scott Snell, District 5, 120 Arlington Drive. I've been listening to this. Unfortunately, I was unable to get here any sooner. I had some things that had to be taken care of. I didn't have any options. I would like to ask you, how many of you have looked online for information regarding Carter County? There's one, okay. We have one of the poorest counties. People like myself, many of these people here are seniors. apparently me. People like myself and some others were on disability. Disability stipends don't count. If you've seen what they deposit in my account, it doesn't count. And I was told at the appropriate office here that every year I have the opportunity to apply and get a reduced rate. I was also told at the same office that every year I have to go back and renew that, because apparently the people who are blind or who are deaf, by the time next year, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. I'm not sure where they're getting that, but it's good to know. Now, the fact that some offices are able to reduce their budget, and the fact that, I don't know, I'm asking you, do we have any evidence that any of the offices have actually attempted to reduce their budget? Do we have any evidence of that at all?
Well, I will answer that question. We do. We looked at budgets prior to the last meeting. Some of them were able to cut them 10%, but we said again, they will cut.
Great, okay, thank you. All right. Now, this is a county with a population that is less than the city of Johnson City alone. Can you tell me?
Go ahead and direct your comments to the budget process, please.
Did Washington County balance their budget? Does anybody know? Did Washington County increase taxes?
No.
No, okay. And yet they were able to fund all their offices. And I have to ask, we have some people here, the first responders, God love them, I'm 100% behind them, we desperately need them in every little town and village. But I have to ask you, why is it that Washington County was able to do this and we are not? The population of Washington County is certainly going to be increased, but it's also bigger, and you would need more money to accommodate more people, it seems to me. And if they're able to balance and not increase taxes, then I have to wonder why we are not. And I was wondering if somebody in the budget committee could tell me why it is that we need more money, but Washington County does not. Okay, I'm going to assume that means nobody wants to tell me. So, at any rate,
Mr. Snell, I've heard Washington County in the last year that they've increased theirs, I think 40 cents, possibly 41, and I think they said about 286 on their tax rate. I could be wrong about that.
And their pennies weren't looked theirs.
No, that's good. See, I did not know that. I did not know that.
Increase last year, 16 cents.
All right, I did not know that. I appreciate that information then. Still, we have fewer people, we have less space. It would seem like we have fewer expenditures. And I may be wrong about that too, and if anybody can tell me, that would be great. And at any rate, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your time, I appreciate it.
We're coming up on 6 o'clock. I have one other person. I wish that I'd known we had people that wanted to speak, people got double time. But come forward, and then Mr. Carroll, I'll ask if you want to address, I'll allow that as the chairman will allow that extra time.
Good afternoon and evening and all of that good jazz. I really wasn't going to say anything because I have a lot of supporters here already, as you can hear. However, it is correct that y'all do not give us enough money for the library to function properly. You want 5-star services with no money. We deal with your county residents a lot, and that's why we love the library, because we want to keep those doors open. We want to make sure we're providing all the services that we house them. We give out resources so they can get ready for GED testing. We do voting exams. We do so much stuff. We had our grand clinic come to the library, and we were able to service 200 people. They got free eyeglasses. They got their teeth done. This is all the services that the library is doing. We're not about just books and material. We're about helping the community. So if you want us to continue helping the community, y'all have to help us. I know one time before y'all asked, can we have a satellite library? I would love to give you a satellite library. That would be amazing. But you only give me $60,000 and $600. What am I supposed to do with that? I can't give you a satellite library. I can barely give you the services that you want. So when we look at the last budget hearing, and I showed you the statistics of people from the county coming to my library, I thought y'all learned that it's more county people coming into my library than city people. But the city gives me over $569,000, but you can give me a measly $60,000. I feel like there's a problem. That's a huge problem. So I hate to jump on the bandwagon of Parks and Rec and say, hey, you might need to pay a non-resident fee. That's not fair because I want to service everybody in the community because we are a community library. But do you think it's okay for the city to give me all of that money and the county barely gives me 9%? But it's mostly y'all that are coming in my community library. It's mostly y'all who, got even the RAM. When I looked at the statistics of the RAM, it was all county members. It was maybe like 10 City of Elizabethton people who used the RAM clinic. And most of them were county residents. So, once again, the county benefited from the RAM program. So, what would you like for the library to do? Now, mind you, I'm blessed that I have a maintenance of effort, so that means you can't cut that $60,000. Because if we didn't have that maintenance of effort, I know we would have got zero too. So thank goodness that the state had that in mind already. But you need to be aware, if you don't fund city departments, there will be some situations might have to change because the city can't continue doing this and y'all not give us anything. So please think about the library. Think about how we can work together because I'm all about partnerships because the library is in so many partnerships. It's amazing how, I don't know if I'm going or coming half the time. But we have to work together, and that's the only way we're going to survive. Like I always say, it takes a library to raise a community, and I agree with that because the library houses everything. You have resources. Anytime you need help, we have an employment readiness center. So you're looking for a job, we have the applications ready for you. Oh, these are the places that are hiring. You need resume help? They come to the library. Oh, you're looking for a food box? They come to the library. Oh, I need a place to live? They come to the library. We are a community at this library. So if you're going to cut funding or not increase funding, you need to think about how you're affecting your community. You need to think about how you're affecting the patrons that come into our location. I'm going to hush because I'll continue preaching. So really think about what you're doing for your community before you start cutting. Thank you.
Mr. Carroll, did you want to address as a public citizen?
One item, our bylaws say that we start promptly at 6. However, if there is no objection from commission, we'll extend the public comment until we're finished or satisfied.
We have 2 people that I know of that want to speak.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'm Robert Carroll, and I live at 713 West D Street in Elizabeth. And the library, and I'm pro-library, but I pay both parts. I don't pay just one from the county, I pay from the city too. A lot of other areas I pay from the city. Also pay double taxes, but I looked on the internet, Scott, at some things. I just want to share them with you. First thing, according to what I saw, Carter County has 6% unemployment rate. Now that's not too bad, but the thing that is really bad is that the job growth rate is at 0.03%. That's unsustainable. In an environment like this, destroys the stability of the county. Now, these cuts are to the most vulnerable groups that they could possibly be directed to. 20.8% of the residents of Clark County are 65 and over. 4.6% are under 5. 19.1% is 18 and under. Now those are the folks that need these programs that we're cutting. I mean, that's the folks that need them. And there's a whole lot more. But anyway, 2%, and I'll try to make this quick, 22% of people in Clark County make under 15,000. That's pretty bad. 7.5% of people in Clark County make from 15 to 20. That makes the poverty rate in Clark County very high. So, I think that their disability, somebody said they were disabled, disability is 15.6%. Now, if you add all these percentages up, you just about get the county. Not totally, but you just about get the county. So I think there has to be cuts, and I think there can be cuts in these offices, but I think the cuts are directed to the wrong place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. I have one other person come in and ask to speak. I'll let them speak.
Thank you. I'm Ken Hughes, Chairman of the Parks and Recreation Board. Last year, Parks and Rec actually received a little over $71,000. That included our regular budget of $25,000, plus extra money for flood repairs at Lone Mountain Community Park. And very importantly, you wisely took the opportunity to purchase 9 acres at a bargain price for a park on Gap Creek. In January, we received a standing ovation from this body after our report on how we've been able to leverage the county's money by working with community groups so that we achieve a very high return on investment. We're using the money you give us wisely to provide recreational opportunities that our citizens tell us are badly needed. There are smart, conservative ways to cut spending, and there are ways that prove counterproductive. I'd argue that cutting our budget as severely as you're planning will be counterproductive. Now this hits not close to home, but in my heart. I have 3 sons, and I insisted that they all work hard and get a good education because I knew they would have to leave and go elsewhere for better opportunities, and they all have. One's in Boston, one's in Greenville, South Carolina, and one's in the Nashville area. We're struggling to find ways to reverse Carter County's situation. We're getting older, our kids are leaving, our population is slowly shrinking. We have to give young people, especially young families, a good reason to live here and visitors a good reason to come here. I would argue that investment in parks and recreation is aimed directly at that problem. I would argue that it's an investment we can't afford not to make. We understand this is a very tough year. Nonetheless, we did a survey during our first year of operation. We showed strong support for parks and recreation. The people get it, and they understand it costs money. We do have some room for cuts within our regular budget. We're going to have to make some very difficult choices, and I'm afraid that we may have to cut work on any additional pocket parks like Greenbridge Landing and Hampton. Since we began work 3 years ago, we've kept our budget requests modest by using our reserves. We started with almost $30,000 in the bank, but all that money is gone. Almost every penny we have is promised to one project or another. We're now dependent on new allocations from the Commission, on grants and fundraising by our community partners. But grants require matches, and we don't have money for matches. Our community partners are all small organizations that operate on small budgets, and they have limited fundraising ability, which means we're forced to come back to you and ask for more money. Regardless of what's done with our regular budget, the $25,000 we requested for Gap Creek Park is a separate issue, and it's critical to proving that we are serious about working with Elizabeth to make this park a reality in the near future. 3 things to consider. First, working with Elizabeth is the only practical way to proceed. Neither of us has the resources to tackle the project alone.
Second, even if Elizabeth proceeds with its proposed sports facility, the softball field at Gap Creek Park is badly needed and the proposed dog parks have strong support. And third, the park would serve the west side of Carter County, which is heavily populated but has no recreation facilities or opportunities. And we've made rapid progress over the last 3 years, which you've recognized and applauded. It has encouraged a number of groups to partner with us. So it would be a demoralizing blow to them if we suffer what is effectively a cut in funding, contrary to all expectations. We would be shown to be an unreliable partner, which would cripple our ability to attract and maintain the private and public support on which we're totally dependent. Therefore, I'd ask you to reconsider our situation, whether the cuts you've planned for us are wise and necessary, or whether they will prove in the long run to be counterproductive. Thank you.
At this time, this will bring it to a conclusion with the one exception that I would like to give some information. The hearing process starts in February for our budget. It's open. We invite you to come. We invite all the commissioners to come. We want you to hear how hard we're working. And believe me, this group has worked hard. You may not believe me, but they have worked hard. It's open to the public. You can come, you can ask questions, you can hear the process that we go through to try to get this budget situated to the best of our ability and for the benefit of our taxpayers. On a little bit more of a personal note, at the beginning of this, I did read the Tennessee Code, which said to be able to speak tonight, we're supposed to write it 5 days ago and turn it into the finance director. I'm such a bad person that I didn't allow anyone to speak. Thank you. Public hearing is closed.
6:26, I'll call us to order for this regular session of the Carter County Board of County Commissioners. Glad to see that EMA Director Smith is back. Thank you for being here. Would you like to come forward and talk about the courthouse?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those of you who may not have attended a county commission meeting before, in the unlikely event that we need to evacuate this room, our primary emergency exit is the south entrance of the building, which is on the monument side, and we would assemble in the back parking lot. That leaves the front area open for emergency equipment. The secondary route would be the stairwell by the elevator on the north side, across the hall from the elevator. And again, the assembly point would be the back parking lot. Also, in the unlikely event that we have some kind of an event that requires an AED, we do have one downstairs next to the elevator. And the restrooms are located on the north end of the building on both the first and second floor. The second floor is handicap accessible. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you will call the roll. All present, and I'm assuming that Commissioner Lyons will be back in just a minute. You have the agenda, and I've asked Mr. Kennedy for those of you that don't have an agenda in the audience, he is going to make a few copies, so you will have a copy of the agenda. Commissioners, you have the agenda before you. I need a motion to approve. Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Holden. Any discussion or comment? Madam Clerk? Right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. Oh, press present, please, before we move on.
I think she's going to have to change it, Mr. Chairman, will not accept.
Hang on 1 minute, please. We have a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. Madam Clerk, call the roll. Yeas and nays here. All ayes, agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is our opening prayer, which will be led by Commissioner Campbell, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Commissioner Hill. Stand if you're able.
Dear Heavenly Father, God, Lord, we bow our heads today, giving you all the praise, Lord, for this day that you've given us. Lord, we just want to give you thanks, Lord, for the greatest gift that was ever given, Lord, which is your Son, Jesus Christ. Lord, we want to thank you, Lord, for this commission, Lord. It has worked very hard, Lord, in our budget committee. God, each one that's took part in it, Lord. We just pray tonight, Lord, that you have your blessings upon this meeting, Lord. God, we do pray for our country, Lord, our leaders from the president all the way down to our local government, our county officials. Lord, we pray you have your blessings on them. Lord, we can never praise you enough, God, for what you've done for each one of us, Lord. We can never give you enough honor and praise, Lord. God, tonight we pray you have your will and way here. We ask you in thy name. Amen.
Amen. The flag is here, not in its normal place.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
At this time, it is usual on our agenda to recognize all of our elected and appointed officials. If you are one of those from Carter County or as City Manager Estes is here, we welcome you. Thank you for being here. If you stand, we'd like to recognize you. You have in your packet the minutes of the regular meeting that was held on May 21st. Do I have a motion to accept them? This is a motion by Commissioner Lewis. Is there a second by Commissioner Grindstaff? Any items of concern or discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll to approve the minutes. Okay, all ayes. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is public comments, and we've had more than an hour on budget issues. So I'd like to ask if you have a concern that you want to address to the Carter County Commission, you'll have 5 minutes to do that. I would ask that you not talk about budget. You spend an hour and a half to do that unless there is some extenuating circumstance that would present you to talk about the budget. So if you want to address the commission, come forward, state your name, and we'll give you 5 minutes to do so. Mr. Livingston.
Roy Livingston again, ladies and gentlemen. I want to bring you up to par on the jail. I doubt whether very many of you know, those 2 top floors over there's nothing in it, like a big football field. Now, it's in the pipeline, they're having a look at it, finish this jail. I've done construction about all my life, and I know some people here that done construction as well. It'll take $50 million to finish it, because they got to tear part of that old one down to tie to it. Now, the payment on this jail right now is a little over $1.5 million. There's over $500,000 of it interest. Now, you keep adding to this bill, And I don't know whether your taxpayers are gonna be able to fund it or not. More than likely not, most of it. But they're gonna end up taking your property before it's over. Because they're gonna put everybody in delinquent taxes, because you're not gonna be able to handle this bill. So, you need to keep this in mind. If you get a chance to go over and look at that jail. When you're driving by, them top 2 floors up there, there's nothing in it. Wide open spaces. Now, when they talk about, cutting the budget and stuff, you can't keep doing this stuff and worry about cutting your budget. It ain't gonna happen. Because that's what they're doing. And I reckon Ronnie Taylor down here is the only one that I know, and he cut his budget 15% across the board. And if you don't believe that, go talk to him and ask him. If they're keep adding to your budget constantly, before you know it, you're gonna be sitting out in the road wondering how that happened. That's the reason I say you need to go count your money first, and find out how much you got, and then you know where to go from there. But until you do that, first thing you know, everybody's gonna be sitting in the road talking to each other, wondering how this happened. Now, you think your kids can't read, write, and count now, but coming out of school, you need to look at these commissioners and think if they can or not, because they should be able to see this with their eyes and do something about it immediately. But it's not happening. And that number we heard a while ago on this budget, to my knowledge, there's not any of them that I talked to had any idea what it was until now. And if you don't start looking out for your money, we're gonna all be sitting out on the road. It's that simple. So, all you people that's out here right now, you might ought to think about getting a petition or something together and petition the state to have somebody to come in here and do a thorough investigating your money here and roll every piece of paper here till you see what you got and where you're at. Then you'll know where to go from there. But until you do that, this just going around and around like a dog after its tail, you're getting worse and worse and worse shape all the time. But it's up to it's going to be up to the citizens themselves, because these people here are not going to do nothing. As long as they get what they got, they can care less. The majority of them. You got 3 or 4 here, they're real good commissioners. And they try to help the taxpayers, which are you guys. The rest of them just sit there and look around. So I don't know what you're going to get from that. Because we're receiving the blunt end of it right now. But you need to keep in mind, you've got to have somebody count your money till you know what you got before you start. Because if you don't, you just keep digging and digging, going around and around, getting in deeper and deeper. This is not going to work much longer the way that it's going. And that jail right over there, if they continue to go with it, it'll take you the rest of the way and under. It was supposed to pay for itself when they started putting these state prisoners in there. But is it or is it not? The only way you're gonna know is know how much they're putting back into the kitty up here in the general fund. And if it's not making its way, you sure don't want to go into it any deeper, because it's going to come out of you guys' pockets, your taxes. And once they get you down, your land's next. They put you into taxes, you'll be sitting in the road before you know what happened. So that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Any others wishing to address the commission? Just come forward, state your name for the record, please. Give you 5 minutes.
Hello, I'm Anita Taylor from over in Johnson City. But I love Carter County. I have a daughter who lives here on in the corner of Elm and C Street. Got 2 children, or grandchildren in your city schools. One just graduated from over at Elizabethton High School, and she was with Debbie Gooch, that wonderful chorus director, and I'm so proud of this school and what she's done there. So I have a lot of interest here in Carter County. I'm running for the state executive position that Sarah Sellers had. Many of you may know Sarah Sellers. She's a wonderful, patriotic lady that I don't even dare think that I could ever fill her shoes, but I certainly want to do my best to honor God and our country. I love the flag, and I get very upset when someone doesn't stand and honor our flag. My dad was a World War II veteran. He served from 44 to 46. He was on his way to Japan on a ship, the LSM-200, when the bomb was dropped. He always said that if that bomb had not been dropped, that he wouldn't be here. And so I do this to honor him. He and my mother were married for 70 years, and all of our meetings will be held in Nashville, Tennessee, and so I could get my mother to go with me. She could visit my sister there, who's a nurse at Vanderbilt. This is not a paid position, and a lot of people say, well, what the heck is a state executive woman anyway? How many of you knew what that position was? Anybody here? A few hands. Well, what they do, they actually run the state Republican Party and oversee the elections so that conservative people will continue to be elected. And my philosophy is to guard the heart and soul of our Republican Party, because there's a lot of people coming in from the outside that want to change those things. You know, I was a Democrat many years ago, my family was, but it's like the Democratic Party has reversed roles. Now the Democratic Party is now what we call the Republican Party, and I'm a proud person of the Republican Party, and I want to see that people are elected that would oversee that we have conservative people to be elected. And it's a state where there's 33 senatorial districts. Rusty Crowe has that senatorial district here. And there are 33 women elected and 33 men. And I would be one of those 66 people that would basically run the state of Tennessee. And this was brought to my attention. Let's say the governor was killed or one of our senators was killed. Then this body, if it was a Republican person, then this body would elect a person to serve in their position until an election could be held. So that's a very important position, I think. I brought some fans tonight in case it got a little hot in here. So on my fan it says, guarding the heart and soul of our party. I worked with Honor Flight, as I said, because my dad was a World War II veteran, and I went on the first trip from here to D.C. And what they do, they take the veterans and all expenses paid for them to see the memorials. It's a wonderful trip to take these gentlemen on, and women. There are some women that have served. It brings tears to my eyes, because when I see someone not stand and respect our flag, then that's very dear to my heart. And so I want to continue to take the message from East Tennessee, Carter County, Unicoi, and Washington County are the three counties that I would service, to let Nashville know that East Tennessee is still alive and well, and we want to be represented there in that area. So I would ask that you vote. Our vote comes due August the 2nd. Early voting starts in about 3 weeks, July the 13th. So if you would vote for me, I certainly would appreciate it, and I'll do my best to honor my commitment and serve Carter County as well as Washington and Unicoi to the best of my ability. So if anybody needs a fan, if it got too hot in here, I have plenty to hand out tonight. And thank you for your time. Have a fan. Have a fan.
Any others wishing to address the commission, come forward, state your name. 5 minutes.
Pardon me for being so indelicate here, but at any rate, my name again is Scott Snell, and I would ask this. Quite a bit of discussion this evening with regards to things like Parks and Rec, and of course those are all of that is very important. A lot of things have to be kept in mind. One of them is the things that businesses and individuals look for when they're getting ready to relocate, and AT&T's going to put their corporate offices here, and Mark Zuckerberg's going to come here so he can check on us a little more closely or whatever. And some of the things that they're looking for would be obviously available land, low taxes, workforce. They look at things too like Parks and Rec, but they also look at things, just the things like cultural arts. and arts. We've talked about, we discussed things like different parks and walkways, dog parks and so on. What I would ask you is this, because I honestly don't know which subcommittee this would fall under, but what is being done with regards to the arts? The arts are another, like hospitals, like education, like the land. Arts and entertainment is another very important thing that people look at before they are ready to commit to a movement to Carter County or something, anyway. So what is being done? Which committee is in charge of the arts, oversight of the arts? Or is there one? Maybe I should ask that. Okay. Then I would ask that you consider creating a subcommittee that would look into the arts, note the importance of the arts. I speak on the importance of the arts every time I can, and they are important. Carter County needs it. And we have no organized arts organization, and things like this, let me tell you, they put a community, city, or county in a position where they can write grants and get grants from, like the Tennessee Arts Commission, for instance, for things like infrastructure, and you're not available. Those grants are not available to us right here today as we exist. So I would ask you to consider creating some type of subcommittee that will look into these things and create some programming to support the arts and consider what value there is, not just to the people who live in the county, but to the county's economic impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And pardon me again.
Any others wishing to address the commission this evening? Seeing none, we will close public comments and move to item number 10 on the agenda, which is notaries and bonds. Madam Clerk?
Patricia A. Chantry, Donald L. Slaughter, Alicia S. Starnes, Kimberly Sands, Allison Hyde, Kevin D. Harmon, Jeff Livingston, James W. Johnson, Connie A. Stein, Stephanie Grindstaff, Judy Mahan, Tracy Dixon, Debbie Michael, B. Rice, Katrina Stevenson, Jim Bishop, Jeannie Holder, and not on your list is Bradley G. Beaver and Michelle M. Bird.
Motion to approve. Motion approved by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Deeds. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, let's call for the yeas and nays. All ayes, thank you. Chairwoman Culler, budget items for consideration.
Chairman, we have several things tonight. One is the annual inflation adjustment from the Carter County Demolition Landfill. This has been coming from the Budget Committee and they did approve. So I'm asking that I put that in form of motion that we approve the annual inflation adjustment for the demolition.
Second by Commissioner Lyons. Saul first. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, yeas and nays. All ayes, thank you.
Next, we have a resolution, and I will answer.
Madam Chair, or Mr. Chair, if I may, this resolution is not proper for tonight's presentation to the County Commission. Per our rules that we have in place, it should have went to the Industrial Development Board. It's my understanding that the Industrial Development Board Chair got the information, but it was not directed to them. Since the sole authority to initiate incentives to any industrial board or to any company would go to the industrial board first. It needs to be reviewed by that committee, not budget committee, then brought back to this full commission. So I would suggest that this be deferred until next month and give Chairman Isaacs an opportunity to get it before the Industrial Development Board.
The chairman came to budget committee.
But the chairman did not present it to the board. The board has to vote on this and then bring it back. You know, it's only proper. I mean, it's not proper to bring this to the commission first. Those are the people, the newly seated board that we've entrusted to take care of these tax incentives. And I've got a problem with this one anyhow, because if you pass this, if you'll look there on that first page, in no case shall an incentive decrease the amount of property taxes collected by more than 40% of taxes paid prior to an incentive being offered. No pilots that I know of at this point in time are limited to 40%. So what you're going to do, you're going to really work to keep business and industry out of this community. You're putting up a roadblock. So I think that we need to get the Industrial Development Board to review this in their infinite wisdom, let them make a decision, and then bring it back to this commission for action.
Point of information.
Yes. Commissioner Deanne, you have one?
We have a precedent where the mayor has brought stuff to this full commission. It hadn't gone before committees and we acted. And I think it's appropriate for the budget committee to bring it in.
Commissioner Von Cannon?
Mr. Chairman, this resolution should go through the Industrial Development Board because that's where it's aimed for. I don't know why it's doing here, but it isn't in the proper place.
Chairman Acuff, I would like to have Chairman Isaac come and speak to this if he'd like, Mr. Hartman.
I'm Phil Isaacs. I'm chairman of the Industrial Development Bond Board. I received this on a Thursday from Mr. Hartman, who had done quite a bit of work on this. We discussed it briefly, discussed it with Mr. Harden, and we went to the budget committee, and they passed it 7-1. But now, the proper protocol is to go through the IDB board first, and then make a recommendation as we do a lot of our pilots. Or that would have to be something that Mr. Harden tell me the process that it needs to go through. We looked at it and saw this as an opportunity to have a working document that would work with and work and cooperate with the city and the county together and have the same document to work towards as far as some joint economic development. And that's one reason I thought it was a good idea. Now, the incentive plan that's in front of you is very conservative and somewhat watered down to a lot of the pilots we have done previously. This is just an agreement that whoever's talking or trying to do the recruiting has an opportunity to present something without having to have commission's approval. If we go and do something above and beyond, which I would recommend on a lot of our pilots, it would have to come before this full commission to get their approval if we did anything above and beyond what this document says. Mr. Hartman here is the one that pretty much put the policy together. If you'd like to ask him some questions as far as some of the details, but I saw it as an opportunity for the city and county working together with a document that we can all work with just as starting negotiations for some of the incentives that we offer. John, if you'd like to.
Yeah. Thank you. Just to point out one thing, this is not a be-all, end-all. You know, we recognize, and as I spoke at the budget committee, that certainly this policy gets us kind of at a starting point. A lot of times when a company is looking at an incentive, we have a very short time in which we need to respond to them. Sometimes it may not be before the next commission meeting. This incentives policy essentially allows us to work with the IDBs, both me, the mayor's office, anybody else who's working in economic development. It sets a minimum standard that, well, kind of a maximum standard actually, that we cannot exceed. Now, as Chairman Isaacs mentioned, you know, there are certainly situations, you know, if we have a company that comes in tomorrow and they say, we want to buy Matheson property, we want to add 150 jobs, and we want to invest in, $20 million worth of capital investment in that, we're going to take this policy, we're going to throw it out the window and say, what do we need to do to get you here? Whether it meets this policy or not. In those cases, though, when it doesn't meet the policy, it goes above the policy, it would have to come back before the county commission and the city council for approval. So what we're essentially doing with this policy is putting into play a way in which we're kind of setting a minimum standard that we can work within these parameters without previously coming to the county commission for approval.
Mr. Chairman.
Mayor?
Believe me, I don't have a problem with policy. I don't have a problem at all working hand in hand with the city because we've done that quite well here in the last year and a half. We've accomplished a lot. But again, we are sidetracking the most important committee, and that's the Industrial Development Board. And as John just said, if a company comes into town that's not going to accept this, then we're just going to have to throw it right out the window. So what I would recommend is that some of the verbiage be changed so that it don't have to be thrown out the window, and that both the IDB board and for the city and the county can go ahead and move forward. But at the same point in time, folks, when you're talking about a very significant amount of tax abatement, real property tax, then I think the commission should by all means be involved in that decision. The problem is the way this is worded right now, it caps the amount that you can offer as an incentive. And I can tell you right now, most of the companies that I've talked with today, if you cap it at 40% of what was paid, what else do we have to offer? I mean, so what I would recommend is that, as Mr. Von Cannon stated, that this go back to the IDB board, let the IDB board review it and discuss it. If they're comfortable with it, then advance it back here next month. You're just talking about 30 days to have this thing reviewed in detail by that board that you put your trust in. And then, by all means, John, I'm hoping that we can do that and get it here. So I'm just wanting to make certain that those people, that the Arnold Hopkins and the Foyds and Jimmy Streets and all those people get an opportunity to look at this under Mr. Isaac's direction and then bring it back here. And I don't think that's an unreasonable request, really, John.
And just to clarify, one of the mayor's points regarding the language in the document, there are extenuating circumstances, but what this does allow is it allows us for, it's primarily targeted for expansion projects. In the cases like we mentioned, somebody's coming in, new industries coming in, we would at that point start looking at what do we have to do. And by all means, at that point, certainly the county commission, city council need to be involved in those types of decisions. When we're dealing with a company adding 15 jobs, maybe $1 million in CapEx, Snap-on recently put the training center addition onto their facility. When they add the smaller jobs, we don't want to have to burden the county commission and the city council with dealing with those smaller incentives package, and that's where this policy comes into play. But at that, I'll appeal to whatever the chair or the attorney advise on.
Chairman Isaac, would you want it to come back to the IDB for you all to discuss that?
Well, that's perfectly fine. I think they should be somewhat involved in the review and recommend the actual pilots themselves. Basically, this gives some guidelines as a starting negotiating point with a company. These are our bare bones incentives we can give you without bringing it before either one of the governing bodies. That's, just helps speed things up. And basically he's saying what is true, and what the mayor is saying is, you get some large corporation coming in here, this is very watered down, very conservative, and it probably wouldn't fly. And, but it's just, the matter of the time offers, it's not that time sensitive. We got this after we met, when we were to meet in June. We will have a July meeting, July the 13th. I'll be glad to present it to the IDB board then and see what their thoughts on it, if they want to forward it on to the commission. I would think what might be a good idea is Mr. Harden and Mr. Day with the city get down and look at the verbiage and make sure that, what we're proposing is adequate enough, and make sure that, we're heading in the right direction.
Commissioner Barkey?
what you just said is the right approach. I make a motion that we send this document back to the county attorney with the industrial development boards and John's meeting to get together, because the wording is screwball.
I'll say.
This is to send back to the Industrial Development Board with the oversight of county and city attorneys. Is that your wish? Okay. That motion was made by Commissioner Von Cannon, seconded by Commissioner Trivett. Discussion, Commissioner Lewis.
Now, Commissioner, we kept here, they presenting something we call tax dollars on a piece of land that Carter County owns. Now, you got a company in here, it said 15 employees. That might be good, but where is the employees going to come from? Out of state, locally? Now, if we keep giving our tax dollars to these companies through taxes, we might be out of business. So it sounds good for the company now, but most times when we do this, we always get the shaft, and we'll get the shaft this time too. Because the commission's better wise up and not go for it.
Okay, any other questions? The motion is to send this back to the Industrial Development Board with oversight of the city attorney, Commissioner Lyons.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to clarify, we're only voting to send this back to the board.
That's correct.
Consider not voting approval and then bring it back to the commission, right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So the motion is to return this to, for Chairman Isaac's group to have an opportunity to look at it. He said that they will do it on the 15th of July, or July the 13th, under the correction, and then it can appear back here on our agenda, July agenda, if it moves out of the industrial board. Commissioner Peters.
Are you, Mr. Isaacs, are you okay with this motion?
Yes, somewhat, yes. I mean, it would be nice to go ahead and get it on the books and have something there for us to work with, because we have no real structured guidelines. A lot of our pilots are on an as-needed basis. All of them are structured a little differently. This would just be a tool for the city and the county recruiting endeavors to have some say, hey, you know, without commission, without approval, we can present this to you as an offering as far as an incentive. If we go above and beyond this, then we go before the full commission, city council to approve a better incentive to help contract. But, a lot of it depends. A lot of the industrial recruiting, they're all very different. Every company, every manufacturer, they're different. And all the incentives are different, and we need to treat them that way. And a lot of it is based on retention and expansion. Like John says, I think this one is a little more tailored for an expansion.
So 30 days is not going to be a problem?
I don't think so.
Raise down the motion.
There's no other questions. Madam Clerk, we'll land on yeas and nays. You're voting to send this to the Industrial Development Board. You're not voting to approve a policy or a resolution. 21 ayes, 3 nays. Motion passes. Madam Chair.
We'll proceed to the budget amendments. We'll take out the budget packet. We received $798.33 in donations. That is $310 to the animal shelter, $288.33 for the drug fund, and $200 for Parks and Rec. Then I put that in form of motion to accept. Oh, I'm sorry, and also numerous items were donated to the animal shelter, not except for the same item.
The 145894.
Yes.
So you're looking at the 2 pages.
One is money and one is items, yes.
Okay, and seconded by Commissioner Hill. Any questions, Commissioner Carroll?
Madam Chair, is this from Walmart, is that food?
Yes, it could be, I'm not really sure what all items she has a list over the animal shelter. Most of the time it is food, sometimes it's toys and blankets.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, yeas and nays. 23 ayes, 1 nay. Motion passes.
Next item we put before the committee in form of a motion is to approve General Fund 101, amendment number 12, total of $391,270.19. There are 31 items. There's $89,304.05 will be coming from the fund balance. The fund balance items are number 4, number 20, number 21, number 31, number 26. The largest one of those is the money for the tax relief, $61,000. So there'll be $89,304.05 coming from fund balance. That was in form of motion.
Motion seconded by Commissioner Meehan. Any further questions or discussion? Commissioner Lyons.
Yes, sir, I don't have the page number. I think it's the third page over where it talks about medical insurance, $51,000 increase. It's on the bottom line on top of the page.
Item 17.
Yeah, 17, I'm sorry. That's 61,000, and then also in 18 as well, Mr. Chair. 51,000, could I have an explanation on that?
That is coming from the, that's real, I'll let Brad do that if you want to, because it's realigning money in their budget already. They just need to make some shifts, but I'll let Brad address that.
What I understand, the Sheriff's Department and jail employees, individuals that are in the reserves, if so, then they have their medical insurance covered. And that's where a good part of this came from. They didn't need the insurance.
I guess what got my attention is very seldom that you see a decrease in insurance, which is commendable, I guess, for the place.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think several of these folks are service related. So that they are serving, and in doing so, they get military insurance or some other form.
And also, Mr. Lyons, we have to budget that, we have to offer it to them even though they don't accept it.
Correct. Am I right, Sheriff?
Yes, sir. It's the beginning of the year, we have to budget that money. We have no idea of knowing what our clientele is going to do at the end of the year. So more reserves and more activities, everything that person will be hired, they don't need that insurance. Of course, the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions on this? Commissioner Lewis?
I think we ought to vote on this stuff, come out of fund balance, separately. Keep putting all this together and it confuses you.
Well, the fund balance.
Some of it don't come out of fund balance, but some of it does. And I think we ought to vote on separate, knowing what's coming out of fund balance.
Well, are you asking to set aside items 4, 20, 21, 26, and 31?
I make the motion that we,
already motion on the floor. There's already a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I guess that's the motion.
Well, I think that explains what the items are, so I don't really want to accept the friendly amendment.
Yeah, but you can put all of them together. I don't think that's good.
We will set aside, if I may change my motion, I would make the motion to set aside items 4, 20, 21, 26, and 31 for an explanation on why we're taking $89,304.05 from the fund balance.
Could you repeat those again, please?
Excuse me?
Could you repeat those?
Yes. Item number 4, item number 20, item number 21, item number 26, item number 31.
Commissioner Meehan, do you, okay, so we have a motion to withhold the items that were just read. We're going to now approve what's left on the list. So, Madam Clerk, yeas and nays. Two ayes, 2 noes. Motion passes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Going back to item number 4, that is $61,000 for tax relief. That is coming from our fund balance. That is where you voted to give people a $40 tax credit last year for their taxes. So I put that in form of motion to pass, $61,000 from fund balance.
Commissioner Collins on the second on that. Any questions to the budget chair? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, yeas and noes. For all of 23 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
Item number 20, there's an explanation below the budgeted item. That is unfunded fund balance, $20,934.28. That is for the vocational rehab.
Second by Commissioner Diggs. Any questions? Discussion?
What is that?
Commissioner Jenkins.
What exactly vocational rehab is?
Well, it's to do with the crippled children's services. I'd let Brad explain.
It's to the Department of Human Services to the amount required, the county's required for each year.
My question is, I mean, we've got a tax rate here, basically, that we're coming out of fund balance. Could we not estimate this and put it in somebody's budget last year? And here we are. It's 80, what was it, $87,000, 88,000? I understand the tax rate. Why is this just now coming up? Why we have to take it out of fund balance?
I think that's the way the billing comes through, that's right.
The billing came in either 2 or 3 bills during the year, and there's a good possibility that the county has been overcharged, but at this point, we're not really sure. We should find out in the next few days.
So I have no problem with the cost of what we're giving to you. I'm just having a problem if we're taking it out of fund balance. Is this time sensitive? Can we wait till next month on this?
We need to have a budget amendment done before the end of the year, so it won't be a fine.
Any other questions? So you're voting to approve this particular item, number 20, for the crippled children's services out of fund balance. Three ayes, 1 nay, motion passes.
Item number 21 is coming out of fund balance. We need to increase the opera funeral, $36,000. $3,600, I'm sorry.
Second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion, questions for that? Seeing none, yeas and noes. Commissioner Campbell? All ayes, thank you.
Number 26, that has to do with postage. We need to take $600 out for increased postage.
Who's posted?
We have
It's for the whole courthouse.
Everybody. All the offices. I got a question on that.
Okay, I need a second on the motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Garland. Now, Commissioner Garrett, you got a question?
Don't these offices have the postage in there?
A couple of them do. This is for the postage meter.
Apparently, we ran over, Mr. Carroll.
It's just a total of everybody that run over.
Right. Except for a couple of officers.
Commissioner Lewis, you got a question?
Yeah, how much did the postage go up, sir?
I'm not sure. You're talking about the rate?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
What I'd be asking, well, I need to break it, I don't know what it is.
This is for our postage machine.
I understand what it is.
I don't know if there's a rate increase or not. I don't know. Can't tell you. The general rate increase. Not this year anyway.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, Madam Clerk, yeas and noes.
And I believe I misspoke. Oh, I'm sorry.
18 ayes and 6 noes, motion passes.
I lost my page. Item number 31, it has to do with legal services. I think our attorney is anticipating different charges. You may want to address that. It's $1,000.
Is there a second? Commissioner Biggs, is a second. Any questions? All right, hearing none. Yeas and noes. Ayes, 2 noes, motion passes.
Next item is Solid Waste Fund 116, amendment number 3, for a total of $118,482.84, 2 items. Nothing coming from fund balance. That's in form of a motion.
Second by Commissioner Hill. Any questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. All ayes, thank you.
Next item in form of a motion is the Health Department Fund 117, amendment number 5, for a total of $19,419, 2 items, and nothing will be coming from the Health Department fund balance.
Commissioner Lyons is second on that. Any questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk. Commissioner Payne. All ayes, thank you.
Next item is Drug Fund 122, amendment number 12, I put in form of a motion of $10,894.63, 3 items, and $8,246.93. This is coming from the drug fund balance.
Okay, second by Commissioner Meehan. Any other questions? Madam Clerk. Roll up. 23 ayes, 1 no. Motion passes.
Next is to approve Sports and Recreation Fund 123, amendment number 4, for a total of $550. 1 item, nothing coming from fund balance. That's in form of a motion.
Second from Commissioner Ronstadt. Second, any questions? Madam Clerk. Ayes, 1 no, motion passes.
Next is a motion to approve the Highway Fund 131, amendment number 8, for a total of $229,871, 2 items, nothing coming from fund balance.
Is there a second? Commissioner Lyons, second. Questions? Madam Clerk? Ayes, 2 noes, motion passes.
Next is in form of a motion to approve the General Debt Service Fund 151, amendment number 2, for a total of $16,200, 1 item, nothing coming from fund balance.
Is there a second? Second. Commissioner Meehan, any questions?
151. 151. Incorrect?
It's at the back of the board.
It's on that.
That's out of order.
Where is it?
It's on the back page.
Oh, okay. On the very back page.
It's on the very back page before the pie chart.
I'm sorry, I didn't know it was that order. On the short one right here.
So this is approval of general
General Debt Service Fund
Fund
151.
motion and a second. Any questions where we are? Commissioner Carroll?
What is debt service?
It's where debt has been issued by the county, is retired. Funds go into it to pay off debt as it comes due, principal and interest on notes, bonds, other loans.
Other questions? Okay, so we're voting on fund number 151. Commissioner Tester? Ayes, 3 noes, motion passes.
Next item is General Purpose School Fund 141, amendment number 13, for a total of $590,448.25, or 19 items. $102,091.61 will be coming from the school's fund balance.
Is there a second? Commissioner Garland, second. Any questions? Madam Clerk? Ayes. Ayes, 2 noes, motion passes.
Next item to approve is Federal Projects Fund 142, amendment number 6, for $150,206.56. 2 items, nothing coming from fund balance.
Second, Commissioner Ward, any questions? Wait a minute, Commissioner Lyons?
Under item number 2, the $30,000 increase, other salaries and wages.
I can't really explain that other than this is what the federal programs people, the amendment they made in plan, and the amendment they submitted to us. They're just cleaning up their budget at the end of the year.
Thank you.
Any others? See none? Madam Clerk? Ayes, 3 noes, motion passes.
Next, before a motion to approve the Central Cafeteria Fund 143, amendment number 2, for $40,426.72. 1 item, nothing coming from fund balance.
Second by Commissioner Ward, any questions? None. Madam Clerk? Vote. Ayes, 1 no, motion passes.
Motion to approve the Head Start Fund 145, amendment number 1, $126,440.26. 1 item, nothing coming from fund balance.
Seconded by Commissioner Deeds. Any questions? Clerk? Ayes, 2 noes, motion passes.
Some other items that we had before the budget, and this was in the budget minutes, we have a motion to reserve any remaining funds from the animal shelter's budget as of June the 30th. This is to do repairs on their HVAC system. I put that in form of motion.
Second by Commissioner Grindstaff. Any questions, discussion? Commissioner Howard?
Yes, I know at the last meeting we talked about finding the drawings for that system so that it could be repaired. Were those drawings ever found so we can actually?
One of the friends of the animal shelter was able to obtain those for the animal shelter. They do have those now and they begin.
So they got all the drawings for the new units, the old units. Great.
Commissioner Ward, how much it's going to cost to fix it?
I don't know that they know at this time because they just got the
We
plans.
don't know because we didn't have the drawings and get the estimates, but we turned in right at $30,000 from last year's budget. We turned in about 18% of our budget back to the county. We wanted to just keep 5,000 of that for this repair.
Take care of it.
Why are we having to repair these units? I mean, what was the purpose? Problem?
There was some bad designs in the system to begin with that we've had problems with. It's caused an increase in the gas bill, and they just need to be some changes made to make it more efficient.
So we had no oversight. Thank you.
Do we have any way to fall back on the people that did the design initially?
No.
Was this?
Most of it's out of warranty. Some of the problems they did come back and fix, the leaks in the system, they redesigned some of it, and that was covered under warranty. The ceiling got wet, and part of it, they come and fixed it. Some of the things they did come back and change, but some of them was just designed wrong to begin. It wasn't their fault.
It wasn't whose fault?
It wasn't the people that installed the units. They were installed the way they were told to do it.
Who told them to install them?
Well, I don't know, I wasn't over there on the shelter at that time, so
Is the installation other than what the AE firm designed? Is the installation, what's our now, is it different than what the architectural engineering firm that designed that project? Is it different? Does it not mirror the drawings?
Probably because I've not looked at the drawings and compared it. I think
Mr. Chairman,
Mayor?
we need to clarify this right now. I mean, all this speculation, all this rumor, the system that was installed is exactly what was designed. It was designed with the input of the veterinarian who required, you're talking about in the cat room area, new addition, there had to be a certain level of air exchange to keep down the health problems at the shelter. If you don't have that fresh air exchange, then you're going to allow certain diseases just to continue to escalate and just go out of control. So what you're talking about now is something totally different than what was designed by request. So what you're doing, if you start messing with that system, yeah, it costs you a little bit more money to operate it, but you are going to cause health issues with those animals in those environments. And it wasn't the mayor at the time that did that design or made that request and specified that air exchange. It was both the veterinarian on staff as well as the director who made those requirements, because the director was part of this design. She was there during this whole thing. So don't say that the system's defective. The system was built as designed by request by the professionals who were trying to cut down on these pandemics that we were having at the shelter at the time. So nothing's changed.
one of the areas that we've had the most problem with is in the dog area, not the cat area, because there is such a great air exchange. We can't keep that 1,000-gallon gas tank full of gas because we're heating the atmosphere. I mean, you could send up the space shuttle for what we spent down there last year on gas. So there has to be some design, some change, or the county can't afford to do it.
Question on motion. The motion is that we put in reserve the money for the HMA repair.
Got a question on the motion, so Madam Clerk.
What about one question?
Yeah, to reserve the funds for the animal shelter.
Actually, on the question and motion was that you had have to go through it first before you have it written.
Stand corrected, so you're actually voting on closing the discussion.
That's right.
Pardon me.
Can we clear the vote?
Clear the vote. Hang on just a second.
You would have to.
I think we better, so I didn't.
Okay, you're voting on closed discussion. And we'll move to the main motion. So this is a yea or nay vote. Closed discussion. Ayes, 5 noes. Motion passes. Now we're ready to vote on the main motion, which is to reserve the funds, year-end funds for the animal shelter to address the HVAC issue. Ayes, 4 noes, that motion passes.
Next item I'll put before you in form of a motion is to establish a reserve or restricted fund balance account for reserves in excess of $900,000. That is the amount that we expect from the Sheriff's Department for the housing of the state prisoners. The restricted funds are to be used by the Sheriff's Department to pay for overtime, to redeem accumulated comp time, and to purchase a new communication system, and to replace an old boiler, which could be up to $70,000. Funds can only be spent as they're received, and they have to come back to the commission and ask to spend them.
Motion, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Deeds. Discussion? Commissioner Johnson?
Mr. Church, I understand this is coming from the extra funds that are now received by contract with the federal government for housing.
That is correct.
Which was not in our prior year's budget.
That is correct.
Clear on the motion to reserve funds. It has to come back to the commission for approval.
And that is above the regular $900,000.
Right. So, no other items for discussion? Madam Clerk. Twenty-two ayes, 1 noes, 1 abstention.
Next item is to approve the inmate health care contract. That should have been in your packet. Next motion to approve that. Or it was in your minutes, maybe more than the packet.
Madam Chairman, is that the insurance we wrote on? Inmate? Is that the insurance we wrote on for inmate?
It's inmate medical care. It's a company that provides inmate medical care.
Okay.
I saw the chief coming.
Yeah, well, Chief Parrish is back there, I think.
You want to offer next?
Kevin Smith's the one who presented to us.
This is a contract for Southern Health Partners that we bring before you every year. There was some increases into it, they were figured, and we have any questions today.
Any questions? Are you voting on the cost of inmate insurance, medical insurance? 22 ayes, 2 nays, motion passes.
I have one other item that came up after our meeting, and it has to do with the Carter County Trail and some funding we discussed a couple of months ago. And Commissioner Garland's more aware of that program than I am, so I'll ask him if he'll come and explain and proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. We spoke on this before, I think it was at our March meeting. This was in consideration of the $2,000 that was originally approved with the City of Elizabeth, and this was to go towards the application for Keep America Beautiful. That money, it was approved at City Council last year. It was sent over to the Chamber of Commerce just to be held for a while before we could actually make that decision on the application. In the meantime, we've had to re-recognize that, the City Council has. That went through 2 readings and has just recently been passed by City Council. And at this time, we're just basically, this is to consider that or accept the donation and approve the $4,000 application for the partnership with Keep America Beautiful. And that'll be the motion to accept the $2,000 donation from the City of Elizabeth and approve the $4,000 application for a partnership with Keep America Beautiful.
Seconded by Commissioner Ward. Any other questions or comments?
Do we have the money in order to do it?
The money's in there. This, like I said, was approved last year. City Council, we did as our budget committee too, and it's been over a year and it's just been sitting there basically. So I think that we can send that check out tomorrow if this is approved tonight. As a matter of fact.
23 ayes, 1 no, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Let's take 10 minutes before we move to the presentation.
There's my gal. Oh, that was right there. Okay. I bet you know. 3 million.
Let me call us back to order. We'll proceed with our agenda. Next item is item number 12, which is a resolution authorizing submission of an application for acceptance of litter and trash collecting grant for state of Tennessee. Chair Holden.
Yes, this resolution is it's coming from the state of Tennessee Department of Transportation, and it earmarks $50,000 for roadside litter pickup, but $15,000 of that has to be used for education. So the Health and Welfare Department passed this unanimously, and bring it to the full commission and make a motion to approve this resolution.
Second by Commissioner Kohler. Any questions for Chairman Holt? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please. All ayes, resolution passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is tax additions and deletions. Carter County Trustee Randall Lewis, come and address us. You should have those in your packets. You should have both additions as well as deletions.
Single explanation of what each one of these stand for. Parcels and properties that have been requested to do due to administrative hearings, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all see that? Self-explanatory.
If I got one of those on your desk, it should have been laid.
And by my side here is Ms. Sequel Shields from the Property Assessor's Office. They are the ones who send us these deletions and additions to the tax rolls. So we get our information from them, and we have to correspond and work with them on this. Anybody have any questions?
Okay, any questions for trustee, Mr. Lewis? Any questions? So again, you've got two sheets in the packet, one for additions and one for deletions. I hope you had a chance to look over that. So I will need a motion. Let's take them separately. Motion by Commissioner Meehan, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Grindstaff. Discussions for the additions. Any discussion, questions for Mr. Bruce? No?
This is for the additions.
Right.
John, we voted on the addition.
Right. We're going to take two separate votes, one for additions, that's what we're doing now, and then one for deletions.
So we're adding 19,051 to the tax roll. And cutting out 44,769.
Oh, that's
That's correct. Okay, so you're voting just on the additions and we'll vote on the deletions. That's what you're voting on now. Okay, all ayes, one abstention. The additions are approved. Now for deletions. Any question about the deletion? I need a motion from someone to. Thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Powell is primary, second by Commissioner Grindstaff. And now look at the deletions. Any question about the deletions? Commissioner Von Camp.
This seems like the most deletions we've had in 7 or 8 years. The economy is good. A lot of these are businesses.
I think a little bit what has to do
Somebody
with
taking chances. What happened?
Well, I think Sequel Maple will be able to address that more in detail, but you got the airport, which has taken additional properties.
You'll notice, I think it's on the second page in on the deletion. There are about 8 or 9 properties that are coming off. Airport purchased those properties.
Is that become city property now?
Yes.
The buyout properties are. But, you know, they're sitting in vacant right now. Some of the houses will start to see them being moved out. So they'll go back on the tax roll when they're reestablished.
Right. I noticed that on Sunrise, we have a couple that have been moved and they're starting to lay the foundations. And then I think the responsibility, Director Schuler, are you still here? Responsibility for cleanup, I think, which have been some of the concerns in the constituents in the first district, I think falls to the airport. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, it is the airport's responsibility. They are the grant writers and the grant be trying to work with the city, work on some drainage issues also. But as far as the land, we're not explaining that. There's going to be a lot of dilapidation there, a lot of urban things of that nature. So something the city really needs to look at to take care of that ASAP.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on?
Yes, Mr. Schuler, is the city responsible for cleaning that mess up that's around there, or is that left up to the county, or who's moving the homes?
That is, the way it was explained to me was that the contractor that's moving the homes will be moving the homes off the properties, and then the airport grant, the
PDOT grant through the airport transportation grant is supposed to pay for the cleanup of the properties, the remediations. So I've not been able to directly talk to Mr. Coven at the airport. Hopefully tomorrow he's supposed to call me.
You don't hear the check ain't that close. I know
Yes,
it's
sir.
taking a lot of heat over that.
I am too, sir. I like it.
Right. There's enough outside.
Any other questions? Hearing none?
This is what, one more, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Is some of these just decreases in their taxes?
Personal property changes, they go out of business, a number of different things. And some of them had to do the rollback, different, some of the things on the list, but a lot of these are business changes on personal property.
I mean, I still see that some of these are still in businesses, so they just make changes, they're decreasing their taxes.
By the board changes, we just got through going through equalization board, and the county board makes changes there.
What's happening with drip shield?
That is probably all land changes, where we reduce their values. They come into the board last year.
Decrease on drip shield amount?
Based on, we have hearings tomorrow going on by our administrative judge for the Board of Equalization that comes from the state of Tennessee.
Any other questions?
They clear cut up there, so that's some of it.
There are a lot of churches and religious organizations on here. Do they pay taxes to start with?
They have rental property, they do, but if they don't have, the churches file all different things for tax exemption through the State Board of Equalization. We help them file that, but it's determined by the state of Tennessee.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you both. Madam Clerk, call the vote. Two ayes, one no, one abstention. Deletions are accepted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, Josh McKinney with Grove Carter County is here with us tonight, recognizing Carter County as a healthier Tennessee community. So I know Josh, you've got other folks with you. We welcome you. We thank you all are here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us. I'm Josh McKinney. I'm the chair of Grove Carter County. I'm joined by fellow committee members Vicki Clark with UT Extension of Carter County, Amy Pink of Edward Jones Financial, Kathy Campbell, most recently retired, but long associated with Northeast Community Credit Union, Sherry Freeman of the chair of Carter County Health Council, and of course Carolyn Hurt with the Carter County Health Department. We had with us Terry Hinson and Ashley Davies from the Regional Health Office, but they did have to leave earlier. So thank you so much for giving us a few moments to tell you a little bit about what's going on with Grove Carter County. If you remember, we were here about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, to kind of tell you what we were trying to do, and in that year we've had a lot of great success. And so we wanted to share that with you, and share it with you, especially some very exciting news. If you don't remember, Grove Carter County is a movement of Carter County citizens, businesses, churches, individuals, who are all dedicated to improving the health and the lives of our citizens. We try to do that by focusing on three main areas, by encouraging people to move more, eat better, and quit tobacco products. Those are our three focus areas, and those are the things that we work very hard to try to make changes in our community. We do that by focusing on encouraging folks to make small starts and turn those into habits that lead to lasting change. So to give you an idea about some of the things that we've done, when we were here last, we were telling you we were trying to get some money from the state, or the state housing, for the Governor's Foundation for Health and Wellness, and we were trying to get a designation. We achieved both those things. So we got a $5,000 grant in September 2017, which we've used for a number of things, which I'm going to tell you about, and we've also got that designation. That money we have used for various projects in Carter County, including installing 6 new community gardens in our community. We have also used it to provide 90 incentives to 90 individuals who determined to trade in tobacco products for those incentives at the Kick Butts Day in March. We have, or are going to install in August a water bottle refilling station for the Little Milligan Elementary School so that those kids up there can have clean water and good water for their physical activity. With a partnership with Ballad Health and Sycamore Shoals Hospital, we're going to provide free water bottles to those kids. We also are creating a story trail that's leading from the Tweetsie Trail to the library that's going to encourage kids and their families to get out and walk and explore the community and be more involved. That should launch in September. So by any estimation, that's a great success. But we capped that all off with obtaining the designation. So what we've done is that the state of Tennessee and the Governor's Foundation for Health and Wellness has recognized Carter County as a healthier Tennessee community. That doesn't mean we fix all our health problems. Of course, there are plenty of health problems that we're still working on. But what that does mean is that we are one of the, I think, 65 communities in Tennessee that are making strong steps in increasing the health and wellness of our citizens. And we are recognized for that, and that has a lot of benefits for our community and for our citizens. So to end, and then I'll give you time to ask any questions or give any of these folks anything they want to add. I want to give you 2 gifts, okay? And I want to make a request of it, okay? So the gifts are right here. Oh, you got it? All right, we're ready? First thing we have here is we have a plaque that was presented to us by Governor Haslam. It says presented to Carter County to honor its official designation as a healthier Tennessee community in 2018 by the Governor's Foundation for Health and Wellness. I'd like to request that you find somewhere wonderful to place this here in the Court County Courthouse or somewhere in the county so that we can show this off. This is something to be proud of. So we're going to give that to you all. And then the second thing that we have to give you is we have a sign. And this is given to us by the Governor's Foundation for Health and Wellness so that we can display this prominently somewhere in our community so that the citizens in our county can be made more aware of it and can feel proud of that, but also be challenged to make those steps every day to improve their health. So we'd like to give that to you and allow you to find a place to put that.
Thank you all for coming this evening, and thank each of you for what you do for Carter County and making us a healthier place to live. We appreciate it very much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Dr. Eric. Now that request, okay? The one request that we have is that we request this body provide one member of your body to be involved in our committee and join our committee members so that we can have some representation from our Carter County Commission on that committee. So I would love to invite anyone, at least one. If more want to join us, that's fine. We do meet monthly. We meet on the second Wednesday at noon of every month. Our next meeting is July the 11th at 12 o'clock at United Way, 210 South Hills Drive. Again, this is all volunteer-based. This is all something folks are doing on their own time, and we're all dedicated to making this community a healthier place. So any questions or anything that you guys need to add? Any questions at all or comments?
I would like to allow Ms. Hurt to speak toward the open house that's coming up at the health department.
Wow, put me on the spot.
You're used to it.
Yeah. And I've been with you guys for a while, so yeah, I'm used to it. It's okay. As you know, we are wrapping up our main part, not the last part, the final part, but the main part of the construction. We should have, I'm planning an open house. I'll invite all of our partners in the community, and I certainly want all of our local legislative body that has made this happen and has worked through all of these things with us and been there with us through this. I'd like to invite everybody to attend. I am targeting middle of July. By the time we get all the last things in and we're able to get notices out and make sure everybody is invited, I think that you'll be very proud of what you see. I'm very proud of the work that we've all done together, and I'm very thankful and grateful for the support. So targeting about mid-July, you should be hearing from me, and I hope that you'll be able to come down and take a look at the health department.
Thank you all.
And the park, beside the health department. It is the city and county partnership. It is looking really nice.
Commissioner Garland.
Just a quick comment, we want to thank you guys, all of you up here, for the great job you've done. That's a great designation that we should be proud of in this county and should continue to support and promote. So thank you all for your hard work.
Item 15, Mayor, you're on, sir. I'm sorry. I know.
It's the operator. Josh didn't have a problem at all because he can project out, but when Caroline, she didn't have a problem as well. But, these mics have been put through quite a lengthy dial-in process for many, many hours. So what happened, all of yours is going fine. You can see the little green light on the system, but this one, the batteries were not replaced. So when Josh was talking, I noticed that it went out. So this is the system. It's installed. There's still a few things up here, finishing touches yet that have to be completed. But I think all in all, it sounds pretty good, don't you? In comparison. So, you know, it's a lot of features, nice test panel and the like. So it's taken us a while to get here, but we're finally almost there with just a few things. So this glitch shouldn't have happened if the batteries had been replaced, but they did spend several hours trying to dial this thing in. So Mayor really doesn't have a report at this point in time, so move on with the program.
Thank you, Mayor. Committee reports, Commissioner Garland,
Thank you, Chairman. Agricultural report, I want to thank Vicki. She got me some items today, 4 quick ones, 5 maybe. But to start out, 4-H, they sent 28 kids to camp today. I think they left out the assembly of being a chaperone. I think Billy Harold was one as well, I believe. So appreciate those guys. I think junior high, 7th and 8th grade goes in July. I'm not sure of dates on that. We got kids at 4-H camp. Along the lines with the Grove Carter County right there, the state has decided to put up some billboards. 2 new billboards promoting healthy eating and nutrition campaign. And that comes from state funding right there, and I think there were 25 total counties selected. We made the cut on the second round, additional funds came in, so they were able to include us on that. And those go into place, I think, in July, and we'll run through the grant year. I'm not certain on that. And sites are to be determined, and we don't know much about that, do we, Ms. Vicki? Any idea? So we keep looking for those, and of course we want to promote that as well. That's, like I say, a good achievement for this county and something that we need to consider every day. Along those lines, moving into the farmers market, of course, the Roan Mountain Farmers Market's opened up downtown Elizabeth. It's been going a couple weeks. The Extension Office has a program assistant who will be doing some demonstrations at the Elizabethton Downtown Market on Tuesday nights. Also, the Farmers Market has moved their location just right up the street a little bit. It's right behind the fire department in a grass area, which is much cooler and I'm sure better for the vendors and those participating in that as well. So go check them out Tuesday nights and Saturdays in Roan Mountain. The State 4-H Wildlife Judging Contest was held this past week in Roan Mountain. I think there was close to 40 teams that participated in that throughout the state. Ms. Vicki said one team come all the way from Memphis. So one good way for us to promote our county again and show off our beautiful Roan Mountain. I think our kids placed 5th in that contest, so we're proud of them, of course. An extension for the Covered Bridge Festival, they had a little setup that got the kids covered event at their office. They said they had about 650 kids show up for that. So the ladies are always working hard, and it seems like they're always part of something. So we appreciate their hard work. Summer solstice is Thursday this week, longest day of the year out there for sunlight. So keep planting and sowing, and if you are interested in pumpkins, you want them to come out before Halloween, end of this month or 1st of July is a good selling time for those. Any questions? Thank you.
Nothing to report other than we have plenty of dogs and cats. If you need one, I can tell you where to get some.
Okay, thank you. Any other items from budget? No. Thank you.
I have one. I missed one there a minute ago. The amendments to the county attorney's budget, $1,000. I missed that.
Well, we voted on it.
Been asleep.
Well, you pushed a button, so you voted. Chairman, ground staff, building and grounds, Ethan?
Other than what's in the minutes, I have nothing new to report. And of course, we will not be having a July meeting.
Okay. Chairman Ward, education and financial management.
Okay, went through in your packet, we had a speaker come out, and her name was Juanita Miller. She spoke about that Wits End. Kenny, I'm sorry. Pardon me, I'm sorry. And if I would like you guys, if you don't know her, to know her, she has a great program. We have a lot of treasures here in Carter County that we don't realize we have. So, that's why we brought her to the education committee to show what she does for education purposes in Carter County. We had scholarship awards of $5.4 million to the county students, which is a great accomplishment. We have 43 kids that met and competed for the work ethic diploma. And our next meeting will be, we won't have a meeting in July, but the next meeting will be in August. And the first day of school is the 13th of August. In case anybody wants to know that.
Oh my God.
It's going to get by real quick. Finance management, basically just reading the minutes. And we will be having a meeting in July 11th at 8:30.
Anything else from health and welfare, Chairman Hope?
Nothing else to report from health and welfare, but echo the sentiment, there will be no meeting in July.
Okay, thank you, sir. Chairman Hill, Highway.
No report, the minutes are very thorough, and thanks to Mary's office over there. Tell Susie she did a nice job again.
Thank you. Landfill, Chairman.
We did not have a meeting in June. I have no report, but we will meet July the 2nd. Monday, July the 2nd.
Chairman Jenkins, you want to do your, that'd be committees?
Let's see, we're starting out rules and bylaws. I have nothing to report for rules and bylaws. We have deferred moving the voting lines. We'll be looking at that again in August. Parks and Rec, I can just say, I know budget time has been hard for all of us. And that budget, like Ken said earlier, has been cut pretty drastically. And I understand we have to make cuts, but we're also dead in the water with all our projects right now. We won't be able to continue everything to be to a dead halt. So, law enforcement, nothing to review there.
Okay, thank you very much. Chairman Meehan, nominating?
No further report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Planning, anything on your agenda, Director Schuler?
We'll be meeting not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday next week, 3 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you. County Attorney's report, sir.
I think as long as we're ever about talking anymore, it's a shame. I'm going to test this new microphone. Rather than sit here and read this to you, I mean, I do file a written report every month that's included in the minutes. Same things I do every month: research, draft resolutions, review contracts, everything that's asked of me. If somebody asks me to come to a meeting, I come. If somebody asks me to do some work, I do it. So unless anybody has a specific question, I'll stand on my report.
Questions for Attorney Harden? Seeing none, Commissioner comments. Floor is open. Commissioner Lewis.
Okay, now I've got a problem, I guess. I think that the commissioner right with me now. Ever since I've been commissioner, I always went to a CTAC meeting. In Memphis, Chattanooga, Murfreesboro, Gatlinburg, Dubuque County, and I always take 3 days. I'll tell you why. We need somebody over these commissioners. Their office holder has got a travel they stand out of. Now we got one too. But it seems now that the finance department is telling the commissioners, we elected and they not. How much money to spend, how much money to eat on, and all that stuff. Now this past May, I went to Gatlinburg to see that. And I put in for 3 days, a long time ago. Mr. King said don't make to do that. Now why, that I have to say 3 days? It's over with by noon the next day. Some of the meetings is. But if you want to stay and talk to these legislators, they have, you ain't go down there, this past year they had a ball from the finance department. They had different people from different departments, worked out of Nashville. If you're going to find out anything, you got to stay and talk to them. Or you don't come out and these meetings. Now, I'm not trying to get the county out of nothing. Absolutely nothing. I think it's my duty to be a good commissioner. If I want to be one, I need to go to these meetings and I need to talk to these legislators and people in charge about the law changing, and they do tell us what the law is, what new law we're going to pass, and all this other stuff. And I don't think that I should be punished, and I think it's a harassment also, that I should be punished because some bookkeeper don't think that I can drive back from Gatlinburg that same day. Now, you can, if you don't want to get no information, then you can, yeah. You can't just go out and get coffee. I'm going to Tennessee. I'm going to Hampton. You got to stay and talk to these people. And some of them take long as I did. Some of the mayors in different counties. Some people out of non-powers office some of the senators that come down up here and talk to us, they sit down and talk to you after the meeting's over with, and you can learn a whole lot. So I make a motion that we take this travel money out of the finance hands and turn it over to somebody maybe like Ray Lyons in the they get traveled, he has traveled the state over, and he knows I'm telling you. So, I just don't think it's fair that we should have some bookkeeper dictating what elected commission can do.
All right, there is a motion. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Meehan. Is there discussion? Commissioner Peters?
I believe that would probably be against state law. We need to check with our attorney.
Yeah, I can let him address it. I do agree with Mr. Lewis that the current travel policy is not very detailed, and it doesn't specifically say how many nights or anything like that. It just talks about overnight travel. And he did ask me to look at it, and I did. I think what the finance department was going on is what they've done historically, and to justify giving somebody an overnight stay and the time of the conference in. And that has nothing to do with me, but I will say, as far as the county policy, it is administered to the finance department. And I don't think that we can put a single commissioner in control of the travel budget.
Why would it be the finance department if we got our own travel money?
Well, the finance department is the central accounting.
They didn't make the bill, but we have the right to dictate the bill.
That's the current financial policies and procedures. We try our best to follow them. And no one's being singled out, including you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyons, and then Commissioner Point. Commissioner Lyons?
I'll just comment on maybe a couple of things. The state government does have a particular policy and guidelines on lodging, on meals, and on pre-approval and prior approval and out-of-state travel. All those things have to be considered. So you're really talking about two things, actually. You're talking about what is the policy and protocol on county commissioners in this case, where they can go out, how many nights they can stay, and that kind of thing. That's one thing you're talking about. And then the other thing you're talking about is who has the approval power to do that. And I think that's what's got Mr. Lewis somewhat sideways, is the approval process, it seems to me now, is in the finance department. At least that's my understanding. But the protocol seems to me like it's a little bit, it needs to be tweaked to some degree, Mr. Chair. And I think that should go back through the policy and review committee for some tweaking and then bring it back to this commission or to try to resolve the problem. I can see where he's coming from. There are a lot of advantages, and for those of us who have been in positions to travel and do things across the state and even through the country, there are opportunities that you have, and I know Dr. Acutt, you would agree with this. There are opportunities that you have in networking, what we call networking. Mr. Simon and I were talking earlier about his opportunity at Harvard. He graduated from Harvard 2 weeks ago. I don't know if Scott did or not. But no, he didn't. But he was in a very select group, selected 30 people across this country to go to this 2-week or whatever process at Harvard. And we were talking earlier, before I even got into this, let me tell you, about the advantages of being able to network with, in our case, legislators, other people from other counties. I was just talking to a gentleman over here, our new city manager. He came from Jefferson County. I happen to know a lot of people in that county, but it was through networking that I got to know those people. So there's a lot of advantages to going to things rather than just going to a class. We all know that. All professionals know that. But there also has to be some guidelines built around so that there's no perception of, are we mishandling or misusing whatever we're doing the county funds.
Commissioner McQueen?
I thought I understood him say that he has done this before, so I guess my question is, in the past, when he stayed 3 days, was he covering the expense on his own, or, let me reword that, let's say, has anyone ever been compensated for 3 days stay, any commissioner in the past?
He has in the past, as I understand it, as before I came.
If I may address that, I was contacted by Krista last year concerning the same thing, that he had turned in an extra day, and she said that's not allowed in the policy. Well, I don't think he was paid according to what she had asked me.
I think a few years ago, we'd have to go back and check the records. I think we accepted the state guidelines on hotels pay, what you get for eating and everything. I think we adopted the state policy. Now, we'd have to go back and check the records, but I know a few years ago, that's the way it used to be. Whatever the state done, that's what we do.
We have on travel time and food time. But Miss Cullors and Miss Ada went to nice when you walk back, and the bookkeeper tell them, hey, you only got 2 days, you gotta come back home.
They weren't in Pigeon Forge.
I'm sorry, I don't think I've been to Nashville about 4 months now. No, I'm sorry, I didn't go.
That was this year.
Right not.
You didn't go to Nashville?
No, I did not.
That Governor's Day?
No, I did not.
I'm sorry.
The travel policy requires that for lodging to be paid, that the distance be over 350 miles round trip. And Pigeon Forge is just 100 or so. That's another factor that came into my decision.
According to the law, he checked this out for me, there ain't no policy. Now, I like to call him no policy.
Yeah, he was just quoting the policy. There is a policy. It doesn't specifically get into your issue. It does say 350 miles round trip overnight stay, but it doesn't specify, well, if the conference ends at 10 or 12 or 2 or what that threshold is. But there is a policy, and it's really for employees. That's the employee handbook policy. I mean, you all are commissioners, obviously, but the county government in itself is unique in that we have constitutional office holders who are elected and really don't answer to anybody, just like commissioners, except the voters. But there has to be a policy or there will be anarchy. So we have to follow something.
I know you didn't have no trouble until Katie came on my board. But what I'm saying is, I am elected. I'm elected by the people. If I'm gonna do a good job, I can't go down on and say, hey, I'm going back home next day. You gotta stay in there. You want me to do what I'm saying. And I'm gonna put it down there anyway.
I think
It ain't like that going down there.
I think it may deserve a review of policy. I think that's where potentially we're going with this. Commissioner Jenkins.
I mean, I'm not one to volunteer for more work. I'm open if somebody wants to make it.
We have a motion.
We have a motion on the floor to take the travel policy or travel issue out of the finance department and give it to Commissioner Lyons. That's where I heard the motion, and that was what was seconded. Is there any further discussion on that particular motion?
Yeah, if somebody's going to amend the employment manual, that needs to be the financial management committee and the finance department. That applies to employees. In any event, no matter who's going to manage the county commission travel, there has to be a policy and it has to go through finance office because that's the way the county works. We can't have a separate fund in Carter County Bank where we keep money for commissioners travel. It has to be a policy and it has to be approved through finance because that's the closest thing we have to an HR department.
We have got a travel policy. Travel money is in the budget.
Correct, but that's administered through.
Commissioner Carroll, the motion is out of order.
You want to speak?
If there is no policy, historically it's been done, then can you just arbitrarily change it?
There is a policy. It's in the county employee handbook for county employees. You all are not really county employees. Correct. But the policy that he quoted is if it's overnight travel or more than 350 miles round trip, then you get a hotel. But the specific issue here is if the conference ends at 10 a.m. or noon and it's in Gatlinburg, should you get another night or not? That is not specifically spelled out in the policy, which is always historically applied to everyone in the county. So does that policy need some amendment? Probably so, but in no way should there be an amendment that gives a single commissioner control of the travel budget.
I'm not even implying that. What I'm saying is, if this is the way it has historically happened, and there is no specific policy that says you can't do it, then can you just arbitrarily say, I'm not going to do it? I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that if there is no policy, and it's always been done that way, then we desperately need a policy.
I agree with you, and yes, it should be spelled, but like I said, in general, in county government, I mean, just like you all can't tell the office holders how to spend their money, all you can do is give them a budget. The county government is a unique animal full of elected people who only answer to voters. And so you're trying to figure out who's in charge of who. The finance office administers the money through travel. I mean, that's just the way it has to work. So, you all can adopt your own travel policy and have money funded through it. You all can fund it, and you all can make rules about it. But it still has to go through finance.
And I make a motion that we adopt.
We already got a motion on the floor, we got to vote on first, so let's do yeas and nays now. So if we vote for the motion, that's right. We're moving travel out of finance and moving it over to jurisdiction under Mr. Lyons.
I think Commissioner Lyons has refused that responsibility, so there's really
Mr. Lyons has refused that to allow me.
It's not illegal. Well, just go ahead and vote one way, vote it, so that we have a record, put it to bed, and there'll be hopefully another motion that's made to send it to financial manager to develop a policy. Okay. 4 days, 18 no's, motion failed. Do I have a motion for any other action on this particular issue? Commissioner Bingham.
I don't want to make a motion, but I can't picture Johnny Lewis sticking around in Gatlinburg running on the roller coaster. I would just recommend that the finance look at this a little bit and maybe get some leeway for commissioner activity at venues like this.
Okay, Commissioner Gronstadt, you're sorry, next.
Two things, really. One, I know we're elected officials and all, but I don't think that it's right to say, okay, we've got one policy for all county employees in the whole county, and then, we're commissioners, we'll just do whatever we want to do. But I would like to, now that the floor is clear, I'd like to make a motion that it goes to rules and bylaws, and I guess for both sakes, it'd have to go to rules and bylaws and to financial management. Is that correct, Josh?
Well, truly financial management would say to...
Well, I think they need to both.
Right, the rules and bylaws can come up with, if you want to have separate rules for the commission, which I agree, you really shouldn't do, but that would be rules and bylaws. But sure, I think it can go in front of both of them. That's
I make that motion that it goes to rules and bylaws, and then it moves from rules and bylaws to the...
Is there a second for that? Second. Commissioner Kohler, second. Any further discussion to send it to rules and bylaws and financial management?
I will say this, they got another meeting coming up in, when the new commissioners go in, they got another meeting coming up in Memphis. Now, are they gonna put
Mr. Lewis, this issue's closed for the moment. Yes, there is a state law now that requires new commissioners to attend a training session, and it will be in August. So we'll hopefully have that policy all straightened out before this body, approved up or down by that time. So go ahead and vote on the motion to send it to financial management and bylaws, please. Up or down? much. Any other commissioners want to comment? Commissioner Lyons?
Y'all are probably here, tired of hearing about the Saluda property. Maybe overstepping my down with Chairman Grindstaff. Roger Coball and his staff have taken that building down. I was up there today to look at it. It's all been filled in. It's ready to start a think tank on what we need to do with that property. So thank you for Coball and his staff.
I'd like to make a comment or two about volunteerism. Those of you that are in the nonprofits that have been threatened or cut, however that turns out, it's wrong because it's dollars and cents that's volunteered to this community. A lot of dollars and cents. Carter County proud. John Bland, for example, giving free guitar lessons to the Boys and Girls Club. The people that work at Arms to distribute food. Those that work at the National Guard Armory that distribute food once a month through the Upper East Tennessee Human Development Agency. Let me give you a few numbers of something I know about. Habitat for Humanity. It takes 72 days average to build a house, a small house. 72 days. Let's just assume you got 6 people today, and you will have more than that on the weekend, on Saturday or Sunday. But let's just assume you have 6. Then you wind up with 6 hours a day, and then you wind up with 20 people per day at $20 an hour. You're talking about $87,000 in free labor to one house. But that's not the rest of the story. The rest of the story is that house goes on to the tax rolls when it's occupied by the individual. So do not cut out volunteerism. When you do, you're cutting your own throat.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes, I just want to remind everybody, you do have your budget packets. Please take some time to look at this. Consider the fact that the committee has put in 30 to 40 hours on this. And please do your review before we come into next month's meeting. Thank you.
Commissioner Ward?
I'd like to say that we all need to go to the next budget meeting. I've tried to attend all of them that I possibly can, but the next one's on July the 9th. If we're all commissioners, we all need to show up, we need to give our input before it comes back before the full body. That's very important for us to do. So I encourage everybody to come.
And you should have public notice in your packets about the upcoming meetings for July. So call your attention to that. Any other comments for the good of the cause?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion. We are adjourned. Thank you.